Your car doesn't get much of a summer break. Bugs, UV rays, and pollen can all cause damage. Stay protected at WetGo with Weather Shield and a free month of unlimited washes. Just purchase your first month of WetGo Go Unlimited, and your second month is free. Wash as many times as you want. And when you choose our all-weather or showroom pass featuring Weather Shield, you'll say bye-bye to bugs all summer long. Sign up today at getgocafe.com/unlimited.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Very, 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 Mickey, 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 Fishy, Fishy!
You are listening to the Voices of Wrestling podcast with your hosts, Joe Lanza.
X out and go listen to some boring podcast where they're afraid of their own shadow. Okay? Don't listen to Joe Lanza, because Joe Lanza's not changing.
And Rich Craich.
Give me a name. Who delivers this guy in a big spot?
Joe, don't yell at me.
In the big spot, who delivers better than this guy?
Stop yelling at me. I agree.
And we are live here on the Voices of Wrestling Flagship podcast. I'm Rich Craich, alongside, as always, the king of banter, Mr. Joe Lanza. Joe, what's happening?
How are you?
I'm doing good. Can't complain. You?
Are you really doing good?
I'm fine. I'm actually doing pretty good, yeah. Had a good holiday weekend, had a good 4th of July. This week's been pretty good. It's a short work week. Yeah, I'm good.
All right, that's good. Yeah. You're normally whining about something. So
no, I think I'm all right. What? Jeez, wow.
Well, that's just
whining about something, man.
I'm just saying
how you really
like,
feel, Joe. Jeez, Christ.
You're of that age where people just, you're always people around your age are always talking about student loans or something, so you're always.
I paid mine off. The wife has hundreds of thousands still remaining, so that's all right.
Yeah, you'll get there.
It's a chip away. Yeah, I got a house at least. I got things. I'm doing better than most people my age, I'd say. So that's all right.
Listen, you got a house. You go on vacation every 10 minutes. You're doing fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it can't be hindering you that.
No, I'm fine.
Brand new late model vehicle in that driveway. Listen, you're doing fine.
Little VW, little Volkswagen out there. Yeah, 2 Volkswagens in the driveway, I should say.
Not even cheap ones either. So you're doing fine. Those aren't exactly economy vehicles out there. Those German vehicles are expensive. Okay.
Yeah. So, you'd be surprised. After that whole emissions thing, they've gone down in price pretty heavily after they got in trouble or got caught. I should say. I'm sure every company.
Hey, listen. That's the best time to buy.
I was like, I don't care. I'm like, they're a little worried. They're a little nervous. It's a little bit cheaper than it would have been a little bit ago. I'm cool, man. I trust you guys. I trust that you guys aren't going to fuck. Who fucks up 2 times in a row, Joe? Nobody. Maybe Uso does every so often, but otherwise, no. Most people don't fuck up 2 times in a row. They keep
that guy.
They keep it kind of clean after a while. Speaking of cars and people that probably shouldn't be driving them, it's Uso.
Is that right-hand man Uso, or is that nobody's
I was hoping you weren't going to ask that. I was really, because if you notice, I didn't put that on a topic. I didn't mention it to you as the thing. And the only reason why I didn't ever want to talk about it is because then you were going to say, hey, Rich, which Uso is that? And then I have to figure out which Uso it is. And I don't want to figure out which Uso it is because I don't know. Is it nobody's bitch or is it right-hand man? I don't know. It was, I don't even remember which Uso was it that, was it? I feel terrible because we're gonna. One of them is a perfect, from what I can understand, a perfectly clean individual, and not driving with 0.20 like blood alcohol levels. But and then the other one is, and that we're gonna unfortunately, no matter which one we say, we're definitely gonna get it wrong, and it's gonna be the wrong Uso. So I'll just wait for the chat room to tell me. They say it's Jimmy, but I don't know if I trust that.
I watched the show. I don't even know which one.
Which one is Jimmy though? That's the problem. So we know it's Jimmy, but is he right hand man or is he nobody's bitch? That's
right. That's what I need to know.
Yeah.
That's what I can never.
All right. The Swink has said it's Jimmy Uso, nobody's bitch. So it is the nobody's bitch.
Nobody's
Uso.
He's the one who drunk drives all the time.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I mean, because it got real confusing. Because couple weeks ago on SmackDown, they switched roles.
That's what you said. Yeah, nobody's bitch became the right hand man, and then the right hand man became nobody. Yeah, it can end up.
Well, no, they didn't. No.
Oh,
they didn't literally switch T-shirts, but the submissive guy became more agitated, and the agitated guy became more submissive.
Got it. Okay.
But they didn't switch T-shirts.
Now, correct. These are Roman Reigns' cousins, right? That you're talking about here, the Usos.
These men are brothers.
They're okay. So Jimmy and Jay are brothers, and they're related to Roman. How again?
They are his cousins.
His cousins. Okay.
Cousins. Yes.
So whose parents?
Okay,
what does
Rich.
that mean, though? How does that work then? Like,
well, here's the thing, Rich. If you just tune into SmackDown,
I'll get all that.
They remind you.
Okay. Good.
They remind you of this in the first 5 minutes of every show, so you don't have to worry. They'll catch you all up.
Good. It gets quite confusing to figure out, the family tree here of the Us family tree. So there we go.
I mean, if you watch the show every week, it's so agitating that they have to waste 90 seconds re-explaining that every time.
And people want this.
For all of these alleged new viewers who are tuning in every week, even though less and less people tuning in every week to catch this.
He took his shirt off and challenged the cop to a fight or something.
Yes.
Which doesn't count as a DUI, but also I don't know. I think that counts as a strike in some way. I don't know. I don't know if I need to be taken. I don't know if that's the good way to handle that situation. So
nobody's bitch, drunk driver, is the same one that's married to Naomi.
Correct. Yes.
All right. That's all the same guy.
Yes. I don't know what Jay does. Nobody knows anything about Jay. I don't think. Who's Jay married to? What does he do? Nobody cares.
Seems like he just leads a quiet life.
Yeah. Good for Jay. He's just whatever.
Yeah. Good for him. All right. Yeah. I mean, Jay might have a big singles career coming up.
Yeah. So. I was going to say, better get ready, get in the gym. Because he could be a single Uso for a while. So, but he was the one that was Who was the one who was injured? Which one was that?
I think Jimmy was injured.
Jimmy was injured.
Jay was doing all the stuff with Roman.
That's what I thought. Okay, that's what I thought. I was gonna say he's ready then. He already had the singles run. So you know what? You can just tell Jimmy to hit the bricks and you're good. So
recently, but then another time, one of them. Remember years ago, one of them was hurt. And
yes.
One of them was doing singles.
Yeah.
I forget it. I can't remember which one that was. But the recent one, Jay was around and Jimmy was hurt.
Got it.
Because remember, then Jimmy came into the storyline as nobody's bitch.
Okay, I got it now.
Come on, Jay, why are you listening to this guy? That kind of deal, Oh, yeah.
Well, that is our SmackDown recap here that you all were.
I mean, that's basically it. I do like that other reviewers are coming around on what I was ahead of the curve on. That SmackDown is the same exact show every single week.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, I will give you credit. It was about May, I think, April or May, when you were like, wait, hold on a minute. This is just Blue Raw and everything is the same. And then you got real hard on it in late May, early June, where you're like, no, guys, come on. This is the same shit happens every week on the show. This is no different. And then all those older reviewers, they were still saying, of all the shows, SmackDown's the best that WWE has. And then last week, it all turned around. And now everybody's on your side, Joe. I, on the other hand, a smart person, have not watched Friday Night SmackDown in quite a while. But you and the other reviewers, you're now in lockstep. But you were ahead of the game by at least 2 months here on calling it Blue Raw. You got a lot of shit for it, too. You got a lot of flack for it. And, you're standing tall again.
I got so much shit for coming down on SmackDown. Now people are seeing things my way.
We got Brian Alvarez out there saying, "Oh, nothing ever changes on this show." Hey, we've been saying that. Yeah, you've been screaming about it. So
that's been the case since January. It's about time people are catching up to my ahead of the curve, analysis
on several things.
That's a teaser for later too. But 10 years, Rich. This. Why don't people listen?
I know we've been doing it. Yeah, we're coming up on that as well. We will probably have I'll talk more about it next week, I think. But we are approaching 10 years of the website existing. So we get a lot of people that immediately, when I say 10 years, immediately go to the flagship. We are going to do something for the flagship 10 year, but that is not until January. That is January 2022 that we'll do the 10 years of the flagship. But it is 10 years of this website existing. Registered the blog spot or the blogger.com thing on the night of Money in the Bank, and my first post was a few days after that as well. I think the Tuesday after Money in the Bank 2011. So we are approaching the 10 years of that, and we do have some fun stuff planned for it. But you'd think after 10 years people would listen, and they still don't. So it's fine. It's okay. We'll just stay here, keep doing what we're doing.
You know what we're doing here.
All right, so let's let me get to some of these topics here, because we weirdly went from not having a lot to talk about to, I think, a pretty decent amount to talk about here, because it got pretty worrisome. And you put a tweet out there a few days ago about how, like, I do not know what we're going to talk about here on this week's show. But luckily, we got some news, we got some debuts, we got some interesting stuff that's popped over the last few days. So we are going to have a lot to talk about. I should note as well that we are going to take calls today. So if you are or if you're interested in calling into the show, here's what you're gonna have to do, and I'll explain this just once, and it's pretty easy. Everybody kind of figures it out. We've had nobody that's really had any issues, so I don't have to explain it in too much detail. But all you have to do to call in, first off, you have to be a $10 VOW Superfan subscriber. So if you're listening right now, that's you. You're good. If you're listening live right now, you are the people that have the ability to call in. You're listening live right now, so you're good to go. That's patreon.com/voicesofwrestling, $10 Superfan subscriber, and you're good to go. You also just need to be a member of the Voices of Wrestling Discord, voicesofwrestling.com/Discord. That's easy. Sign up. You're good to go.
Can I just give...
What do you want to give?
Yes. I want to give a Ric Flair woo to all of those $10 subscribers.
There it is.
Hashtag love you.
In your robe. In your lavish robe.
Yes.
What's that made out of?
Cotton. It's not an expensive robe.
Okay, what are you doing here?
I was just shouting out the $10 members. Okay. Part of their
bonus, yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a house call coming soon or what?
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah. I'm trying to work out semantics.
So fired up. Okay, what are you doing?
I'm trying to work out semantics of doing a live house call AEW.
Okay, that's right. It all out. All right. Have a good night.
Love all you $10 subscribers.
There it is.
$5. Do better.
Be better. Clap. Be better. All right, Joe. You still there?
Two German late model vehicles in the driveway. She better support those $10.
Absolutely. So again, if you want to call in tonight on the show, be a $10 superfan, as we said, patreon.com/voicesofwrestling. Be a member of the Discord, voicesofwrestling.com/Discord, and then hang out in the flagship Superfans Q&A hold room. It's a voice channel on the Discord. It's very easy to find. I have a link as well if you're on Patreon as well, that you jump in there. And essentially, when we are going to talk about a topic, if you have a thought about that topic, that's when you would jump on. So if we're talking about NXT Great American Bash and you have a thought about NXT Great American Bash, that's when you would jump into that hold room. When you have a thought about SmackDown, that's when you're going to jump into that. And we are going to take questions and talk about the topics we are talking about. If you're going to call in and ask us what our favorite Masawa matches are of all time, we're going to tell you to hit the bricks. All right? This isn't an open Q&A. We want calls about the topics we're talking about. So that's nice and easy of it. It's we usually have very good calls, and I'm sure we'll have them again today. But if you want to call, that's what you have to do. So we're going to start talking about a topic, and if you say, I have a thought about that topic, that is when you jump in. Again, voicesofwrestling.com/Patreon. You guys all have that. You're all listening anyway. Patreon.com/voicesofwrestling. voicesofwrestling.com/Discord. Join the Discord, and then flagship Superfans Q&A hold room, and then you are in and you are ready to go. So it is that easy, and then we'll punch you up. And the other key is be ready to talk. Be ready to talk and be ready to mute the flagship. If you're listening to the flagship and we bring you up, there's a bunch of feedback and a bunch of crap. Usually people are good about that. Usually people are good, but there's always one or two people. But yeah, be ready to talk and be ready to mute the flagship when we put you in to the main room. And that's it, Joe. So hopefully get some calls. Hopefully get some interesting discussions.
Yeah. Don't make me hand wave you like Francesa. Don't make me give the hand wave.
Yeah. We've come up with a cue, by the way, and I don't know if anybody's aware of that, but I'm aware of it, and there's a cue when Joe has decided that you are a shitty caller and he's ready to be done with you. So
yes.
I'll be the good cop of this, and Joe will be the bad cop, as per usual. So yeah, there is a word, there is a safe word that Joe has that will mean that you have to hit the fucking bricks. So be a good caller. Talk. So
that's not the first time safe words get used in the room I'm in.
In the room that Joe's in right now. Yes. I believe it's a different safe word than the one you would probably use, but I don't know. I never asked. So we'll find out. I think.
Do you really want to know? I mean, do you
no,
probably not, right?
I really do not. But all right, we'll start out the show here talking about Chris Youngblood a little bit. So this is we always try to do this if possible. But there was another pro wrestling death this week. Chris Romero, who many people would know as Chris Youngblood, died at the age of 55, which seems very young for someone to pass away. Anyway, Chris, he's the younger brother of Steve, who many people know as Jay Youngblood, probably the more famous of the Youngbloods. And there was also Mark Youngblood as well. So they were kind of a pro wrestling family there. But Chris Youngblood, Chris Romero, Passed away at the age of 55. And now, Joe, I'm going to be honest. I'm sure I've seen a Chris Youngblood match, but when I saw this name, I was just like, yeah, I'm sure I know of him, but I can't honestly say that I know much about him, or I can remember vividly watching him wrestle. I'm sure I've seen it, whether on in All Japan or somewhere. But what memories do you have of Chris Youngblood? Because unfortunately, I don't know that I can offer a whole lot here.
So Chris Youngblood, I suspect, if you're like Rich, basically, if you're not from Puerto Rico, meaning live on the island and we're a fan of Puerto Rican wrestling at that time, and I'm sure we have a couple listeners we have listeners all over the world.
Yeah, oh yeah, we have writers from Puerto Rico, so yeah, there's probably a few people listening.
Yeah, I'm sure we have some listeners from Puerto Rico. That's where Chris and Mark Youngblood made their biggest impact and were the biggest stars. They were enormous stars as a tag team in Puerto Rico. They had their chances in America. They had a run in WCW in 1990 and into 1991. They were on Global. Actually, I believe they held the Global Tag Team titles at least once, probably multiple times. So if you're of a certain age or you remember Global, like we talked about with Del Wilkes last week, you might remember the Renegade Warriors from there and from WCW around that time. But other than that, as far as American wrestling goes, that would be about it. Now, they were regulars in All Japan for many years. Again, the Renegade Warriors, Chris and Mark. They weren't a pushed team. I don't think they ever even won the All Asia titles. Rich can fact check me here, but
I'm almost. Sure I think I looked this up earlier, and I'm pretty sure they didn't. But let me double check just to make sure.
They were underneath guys, but they worked a ton of tours. They always worked the tag league, and they'd win like one or two matches in the tag league. They'd never threatened to win the thing or anything.
Yeah, the only tag titles, the WWC titles. They won in Puerto Rico, and then
a million times,
and then the World Wrestling's Superstars titles. I think that's Germany, right? Yeah, Germany. So they won it in Germany and Puerto Rico, but never in Japan.
Those Puerto Rican titles, they probably won those a number of times.
Seven times.
Yeah, they're big stars down there, headliners.
From 1987, they won their first titles all the way to 1998. So yeah, a long run.
Yeah, and they were there forever. I mean, that's they were and people would give them a shot here. I mean, I'm surprised they never won the global tag team titles. That's a surprise to me. As the Renegade Warriors, but in WCW they didn't get pushed at all, and I just think the problem in America for them was their look. I just think at that time, they weren't guys that had like phenomenal physiques or anything like that, and the Indian gimmicks were kind of becoming passé by that point in time. That kind of gimmick had peaked a few years earlier. I guess Tatanka was still able to do it.
Yeah, I was good because I thought about that too. I thought, oh man, I probably didn't hear about him and I didn't really know much about him. They probably didn't get a very good run because of that. But then, yeah, you realize that like while they were in WCW, there was another Native American gimmick, and 2 years later, Tatanka would go on and have a pretty big run and be undefeated and all that sort of stuff. So
who was in WCW?
What's his fucking name now? God, why am I forgetting this dude's name? Oh God, Charlie Norris.
Oh, Charlie Norris, yeah, but like he didn't gain any traction either.
No. I was just saying, like it wasn't. It was dead in the sense that like it probably wasn't going. You weren't going to get a Chief J Strongbow out there. People weren't going to rally behind the Native American wrestler or
Wahoo
whatever.
McDaniel.
Yeah. Those days were gone. They would still like get employed, and people would still try that gimmick because it was a tried and true gimmick for many years. But at a certain point, it had started to lose its steam, and even the last of the Mohicans couldn't help it come again. But I guess Tatanka had a pretty substantial run, I would say, from 92 to 94.
I would consider Tatanka's run a successful run.
Yeah,
he was probably the last one, unless we're forgetting someone obvious. I mean,
yeah, I'm trying to think post Tatanka. Yeah, now we're getting into a weird period where it's like, you're still doing Native American gimmicks in like 1997.
Once you get past Tatanka, now you're getting into an era where people find it problematic. So you're not going to...
That's what I mean.
You're not even going to see people... Yeah, people aren't even going to try it like post Tatanka.
Especially a team called the Renegade Warriors. They're called the Renegade. It's two Native American men named the Renegade Warriors. So yeah, I don't know if that's going to fly anymore.
Even worse is I don't even think they were authentic Native Americans, which makes it 1,000 times worse.
They were Puerto Rican men, I believe. Yes,
they were Hispanic. They were Hispanic, right?
Yeah. Romero. Yeah, their last name was Romero. So yeah, I don't think they were from any specific tribe. Yeah, I think they were just.
They were really from a tribe. I mean, I apologize. I just don't think they were. So that even makes it even worse. And neither was Chief Jay Strongbow and Jules Strongbow. And I don't know about Wahoo McDaniel. I don't know if he was legitimately a Native American. But the point is, just like a lot of the evil Japanese wrestlers or the evil German wrestlers, it's wrestling. So it's a lot of guys just, that fit the gimmick. So, which again, it makes it, that kind of gimmick will never work today, and especially won't work if it's somebody, that isn't a legitimate Native American portraying themselves. Forget it. You can't do that now. But even then, in the early 90s, the gimmick itself was starting to become a bit passé. Plus, they didn't have great bodies for the era. So they had a lot working against them. And they didn't really show a ton of charisma in WCW or Global either. So for whatever reason, they really clicked in Puerto Rico, and they didn't really click anywhere else. And they were good enough workers for Baba to bring into All Japan. And since he was just using them as prelim guys anyway, he just, what he wanted in that position on the card were just guys that could go, and they could go. So that's basically it. I mean, like I said, if you weren't, and I haven't seen a ton of Puerto Rican wrestling. I've seen a lot of the main event stuff with Colón, but I can't sit here and tell you that I've seen a ton of wall-to-wall TV or major shows.
Yeah, I've seen
from that territory.
I've seen some of the big matches that people say, "Oh, this is a really really good match." But yeah, I've never clicked on a full show and went, "All right, let's take in all the undercard." No, yeah, it's never that. It's one match and I'm out. Pretty much.
Right. So, I can't. I'm racking my brain. I don't even know if I ever saw Chris and Mark Youngblood wrestle in Puerto Rico. If I did, I don't remember. But I saw plenty of them in WCW and Global, where honestly they, and I've seen some All Japan stuff, but not even a ton there really. Because you got to remember too, in those days with tape trading, you didn't always get full shows. They didn't even always air the full shows. And a lot of tapes were comp tapes, and people were only putting the best shit. So you weren't getting like undercard tags with guys at this level a lot of the time. Right. And
that's an argument we used to make all the time. You remember in our days when we were pro New Japan, and as opposed to now when we're just anti, we absolutely hate New Japan, even though we'll talk about it here in a little bit. But we'd always have that argument with people when they would say, "Oh, this," back in 5-6 years ago, "Oh, this New Japan sucks because All Japan was so much better. The hits were so much better in All Japan." And you would always say, like, "Well, look, you didn't watch the whole show. Like, we're watching every New Japan show that makes tape, and we're watching it from the beginning of the show to the end of the show." I mean, you can't compare it directly to All Japan, because in All Japan, you were watching the hits. Those tapes would come in, and it was the best matches, it was the important matches, it was the top guys, it was that sort of stuff. You weren't slumming up and watching, the Youngblood's undercard matches very often on the tapes you'd get. Maybe you did, maybe you get some full show tapes here and there, but you were usually seeing the highlights, you were seeing the best matches, the best stars, all that sort of stuff. So that was an argument we used to use all the time, if you remember, when people would say, "Oh, well, I mean, New Japan's good, but there's a lot of crap on New Japan shows, and there was never any crap on All Japan." And it's like, well, maybe, we don't know, because we weren't watching everything that they did.
Right. I mean, you weren't watching Wolf Hawkfield. You were watching, you're watching Kawada. But so I could see why someone of your age, where this wrestler and that tag team would have slipped through the cracks a little bit, because you were a little young for 1990 WCW.
Yeah, and I've gone back and watched a lot of it, and that's what I mean. Like, I'm positive that I have seen these guys wrestle. So I have watched Halloween Havoc 1990, and I know they're against the Freebirds on that. I've seen both of the Clash of the Champions, I think, that they were on. I'm looking now, 13. Yeah, okay, so I knew for a fact they were on at least 2 or 3 Clash of the Champions. They were on 13 and 14. This is a nice booking here by WCW in 1990. Clash of the Champions number 13, Thanksgiving Thunder. They have the Renegade Warriors defeat the Nasty Boys. By DQ, though, I was gonna say. So like they couldn't give the Native Americans a clean win on Thanksgiving Thunder against the Nasty Boys. Come on.
Well, they gave them a decent shot. They just couldn't get over.
Yeah.
It was just the wrong time.
No, it definitely was. Yeah, and then they like slowly. Yeah, then Clash of Champions 14 they were against Arn Anderson, Barry Windham, and lost, and that's it. That's it for them. They kind of wrap up after that in WCW. So I have seen them wrestle, but they like no endearing memories of them. You know what I mean? Like I'm positive I've seen them on Halloween Havoc. I'm positive I've seen them on those Clash of the Champions. But that would really be the extent of it. I don't remember ever seeing them on All Japan. And then the global stuff, maybe here or there, but I haven't watched full global either. So yeah, unfortunately he did kind of slip through the cracks for me. And then I know he popped up in FMW many years later, but I've never been a big going back and watching a whole lot of FMW stuff. So
they were pushed in global. I mean, I remembered them as tag champs, but I guess that's wrong. But they were pushed in global. They were seemingly on global every week, like in 1991, I guess 91 or so. Yeah, but Jay Youngblood, obviously, the biggest star out of those three brothers, the tag team of Ricky Steamboat and everything, and but he died young.
30.
And it was
30 years old.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And it was supposed to be Jay and Mark going to Puerto Rico, but Jay died. So then it was Mark and Chris. And who knows what would have happened with Chris Youngblood if Jay lived. Because without that tag team, he didn't have much. That was his career.
Yeah, I don't think
was his career.
I don't know that, and maybe somebody that knows a little bit more that's listening and could follow up, but I don't think he even wrestled before his brother died. So it may have been literally like maybe he did a little shots here and there, but I think that it was essentially, hey, look, we need you, so you're stepping up and you're going to be the new tag team partner here. But I'm pretty sure his career begins when his brother dies or just before it. So yeah, he very young into his career though. One way or another when his brother dies. So yeah, you're right. He's probably not wrestling. He probably is not involved in the business, or at least not to the level that we know him if his brother does not pass away. So
his father was an enormous star in the territories he worked in, but he had to start super young because he's only 55. I mean, and he was wrestling by 1985 or so. So and
that's what his brother passed away in 85 as well. So yeah, that's where that timeline adds up.
So that's 36 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And he's 55. So he started as a teenager.
Yeah, he's 19.
Started as a teenager. So because most of his contemporaries are older than 55 at this point. So yeah, we don't have any details of how he died or anything like that.
Yeah, no one knows just yet. Yeah, just 55 years old. So either way, that's not great. But yeah, we just thought we'd talk about him for a little bit. And I'm assuming you don't have any Cyanide Sid Cooper stories to give us. So
I know nothing about Cyanide.
Yeah, he also passed away, and I know nothing about Cyanide Sid Cooper either. So
I feel like I feel like Dusty Rhodes just didn't, for whatever reason. And I don't mean this in a personal level because I have no clue, but just didn't like the Youngbloods because Jay Youngblood was obviously an enormous star before Dusty took over the book. And I guess Jay would have died before Crockett really, 85. I mean, he never brought Jay Youngblood back, and he never brought Mark and Chris in to Crockett while he was booking.
And I think if I remember correctly, I think Youngblood probably for the reason that he passed, because he just stopped showing up to shows and had huge alcohol issues. I think he started wrestling just all over the world for a long time before that ended. Like, because the NWA run, I think he ended that pretty. I mean, I think by 83 or so, I think he was done, or 84, he was done in NWA, and then just kind of traveled all over the place. My timeline might be a little bit wrong.
Fired for no showing and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So he was in NWA technically until 85, doing a lot of Florida stuff. So he would have definitely crossed paths with. Crockett wise, it's. Yeah,
well, wouldn't Dusty have been booking him in Florida?
That's what I mean. Yeah. So he obviously did work with him for a while.
Maybe other forces in Crockett were like, this guy burned us before.
Right.
But Dusty never brothers either, and really they never got a shot until 90. So I just don't get the sense that a lot of American promoters saw money in them, in Mark and Chris, because nobody really gave them a shot until WCW, and then Global was around the same time. I think Global was after a short WCW run.
Yes, yeah, it was.
Yeah, so of course Global coming off of TV where they were gonna, you know what I mean? You could see why they would give them a try. But no one really tried them in the States until 1990, even though they were drawing big money in Puerto Rico. So, and there would have been, the AWA in the dying days or Memphis, but they just really, now maybe some of those places did want them, but they were doing so well in Puerto Rico that they just weren't interested.
Yeah.
All Japan.
And the getting must have been good in Puerto Rico because, another famous story too is they were there when Bruiser Brody, got murdered and worked the show, and then they came back many times after for years and years and years. So clearly, they're like, well, whatever. I mean, I'm getting paid, so it's all good. Like,
some guys wouldn't go back.
Yeah.
They went back for many years. They went back deep into the 90s.
Another decade, yeah, for another decade, pretty much, so a decade plus. So obviously the getting was good, or it didn't affect them that much, or maybe they didn't think very highly of Brody. I don't know. There's always, that is one of the very, I mean, that story, and there's so much about that story, and there's so much that has been dug into about that and discussed about that and all that sort of stuff. But I feel like, I mean, we've only scratched the surface of just like dudes who would never work there again, or the guys that were like, I don't really care. Like, it's so bizarre. What a weird story in pro wrestling history. How very little actually changed when a man got murdered backstage. Like, it changed to an extent that a few guys were like, I'm not doing that shit anymore, but pretty much business as usual after that all happens, and it's pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean, the guy set out to kill him, and then he just wrestled.
Yeah.
Later on the show.
Right.
Like, well, what are we doing here? Like,
got took to the hospital, and they went, well, show must go on. All right, guys, let's get out there. Let's go. Let's work the show.
Yeah,
he died? Huh? Well, whatever. We got a show next month, so who cares? It's wild. Yeah, wild.
So Jay definitely worked with Dusty in Florida.
Yes.
And then he died, of course. Mm-hmm. Died in 85. But you would think that Dusty, once he took over the book in Crockett, would have said, well, Jay was a big star here just a couple of years ago. Why not give the brothers a shot? There could be something. And they never brought them in, which, I don't know. I just find that a little bit weird. Like, he didn't even give them any opportunity. Unless, again, maybe they did, and these guys were just like, no, we're making plenty of money elsewhere. But I don't know. I just always thought that was a little bit strange. Or maybe everyone just nobody thought that there was any money in those guys. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe smartly he realized that it wasn't going anymore. So, all right. So that is Chris Youngblood, and as we said, Cyanide Sid Cooper, who passed away as well. But you and I are not the authorities on that whatsoever. He's old World of Sport UK guy. I don't think he ever went stateside, right? And I think he pretty much was done when World of Sport was done as well. So, not our wheelhouse at all. So, unfortunately, we can't give you anything.
I mean, I know who he is.
Yeah, I've heard the name just because it's an all-time great wrestling name. Cyanide Sid is a great name, but I can't imagine I've ever seen a match of his, to be honest. So,
I have nothing to add about his life or him.
Yeah,
so there's no point,
So that's Chris Youngblood and Cyanide Sid. So let's get to some of the other topics that we're talking about today. And again, as we said, if you're interested in any of the topics we're talking about, you want to give your thoughts, that is when you're going to try to call in, get onto the Flagship Superfans Hold Room, and then when we are done talking, we'll bring you guys up, or when we're ready to hear some other thoughts, we'll bring you guys up. But talk about the topic we're talking about. Don't just ask us random questions about stuff. But let's get to two pretty important debuts or important moments on this week's Dynamite. And you have done your Thursday tier reviews. That is up right now at patreon.com/Voices of Wrestling $5 tier. I have not heard that yet, so apologies if I'm repeating some of the stuff or making you repeat some of the stuff that you said on that. But Thursday tier reviews are up, $5 tier. Patreon.com/Voices of Wrestling. But two big debuts. We'll start with the first one. Malakai Black, the former Tommy End Aleister Black, has debuted in AEW, and I would say for all the jokes that we've made about him, all the laughing that we've had at his expense, it's a pretty damn good debut. I'm still a little worried based off what I've seen over the last month, but as far as a debut, a moment, a few second snippet, I mean, this is as good as a debut gets. Guy comes out, beats up his top star, crowd goes nuts, and he leaves. Like that's pretty good on my book.
I mean, this is how you debut someone who you think can make some money for you.
Yeah.
You know, he beat up, you know, arguably their top babyface or one of their top baby faces, and immediately is in a feud with one of their top guys. He looked great. The lights out gimmick and turning the lights back on ensured that he was going to get a pop. This is how you do it.
Yeah. I thought, and I don't know if you mentioned this in the Thursday tier reviews, but I love that they were able to kind of use real life a little bit, where the lights flicker a little bit during the Cody match, and they go, yeah, you know, Florida, there's been bad weather and stuff. Like that's, they're, you know what I mean? They're kind of, I don't want to say they're lucky, but it ends up working that there's like a tropical storm going on there right now, and there's a bunch of weather. Like, because, you know, sometimes they'll say, there's been inclement weather in the area, and it's like, sometimes it's just like total bullshit. You know, it's not. But in this case, it did make sense. You're like, you know what, that I could buy that the lights would maybe go out a little bit, and then they go out fully, and then he debuts. But yeah, it's you really couldn't script a better debut for a guy than what he got here.
Listen, as a veteran wrestling watcher, I knew something was up when they did that, but it's still it ended up being actually really clever because they did it during Cody's match.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it all tied in to later on him picking a beef with Cody and Arn. And it really was a tremendous piece of booking from start to finish, because you had Cody wrapping up his feud with QT Marshall and beating him definitively in the strap match with the 3 crossroads, and then touching all 4 corners. So you put QT Marshall in the rear view, you have the blow off to that feud, the light flickers during that match, and then an hour later, it's on to the next thing for Cody. And this presumably will be, you know, a pay-per-view match, and one of the matches they'll put on their pay-per-view. So just a tremendous piece of booking from start to finish to transition Cody from the QT Marshall feud to this feud.
Yeah, it's something that good bookers and good companies are always doing. Classic Paul Heyman thing, where once one feud's over, the next feud moves on. ROH would obviously adopt that with Gabe Sapolsky. Pretty much a minute the one feud was done, another feud would start. NXT used to do a really good job with it, especially with a guy like a Sami Zayn or whatever. They're like uber baby faces. It would never be a moment where that guy would rest without, you know, the next guy coming up and beating his ass or getting him. I mean, he wins the title and then his best friend turns on him seconds later. You know, that type of stuff where it's really cool. And that's like classic pro wrestling 101 booking, is that, yeah, once you put one feud in the rear view, you get started on the next one. Instead of a holding pattern, instead of, what is this guy going to do for a few weeks? When you got top stars and you got top guys and you have people and you have clear heel baby faces and all that sort of stuff, just go right. I mean, just jump right into it, do it, and it makes it that much more, you know, impactful. So I loved that. Yeah, like you said, he puts it, you know, in a few segments prior, he puts QT in the rear view, and then there's no delay of, hey, what are they going to do with Cody? What's next for Cody? It's like, we know, you know what I mean? We know now the entire next pay-per-view cycle, or the next, you know, 2-3 months, we know exactly what Cody's going to be involved in. And that's good booking. That's making sure that you know what you're going to get to. That's planning ahead. That's just, I mean, that is the hallmark of a company that knows what they're doing and is you know, is sticking with their plans and actually planning, for God's sakes, which is a lot to ask for in modern pro wrestling companies, unfortunately. So
now, the video he put out earlier in the day is deeply concerning.
I do not like. You didn't like him literally slitting the throat and walking into a mental institute and his eye patch and stuff. Yeah, that I like the debut. I am still very worried about our man Tom End, though. I'm still deeply concerned about this man and the ideas that he's going to bring to the table, which I'm still very worried about.
Yeah, once you start killing people or using sorcery, you know that I'm out. I have no use for it. I thought the video was terrible. It's too far from what pro wrestling is or what should be. It's like, and then you have people saying, "Oh, well, Moxley did it and everybody loved it." That is not the same. That Moxley video it had nothing to do with the gimmick that Jon Moxley's trying to portray. That was just a hype video for the guy's return to wrestling.
Also, correct me if I'm wrong, he just like escaped from a prison and ran away, right?
Yeah, it's just like an action movie kind of thing, and it was just
how are we comparing a man murdering people and having superpowers?
It was more of like a hype video for his return.
Right.
And the other context that you're missing is Jon Moxley didn't do hours and hours of Twitch streams talking about black magic and fucking corny ass storylines that never would have gotten over. He just put out a hype video for his return. It's a completely different scenario. So from that perspective, that's not a good argument. And once you start slitting people's throats and things, you just completely lose me. I have no use for that. It's Lucha Underground bullshit. But look, it's we've kind of been assured that some of the worst ideas aren't going to get through in this case. So we'll see. I'll approach it from that perspective. I really don't think that AEW and Tony Khan would do some kind of Bray Wyatt type character. I don't believe they would do that. Tony Khan says that he regrets the early Matt Hardy stuff that they did early in the pandemic. Remember with the levitation and and the disappearing. He's on record saying he regrets doing that, and we destroyed that. Remember when we destroyed that on one of the pandemic shows?
Oh yes,
it's
yeah.
So I don't think you have to worry about Tom N's worst instincts infiltrating the AEW booking. Whereas if he were still in WWE, there's a good chance that stuff would see the light of day.
Yes. Oh God, yes. Yeah, I would say one thing that I have noticed is over the last year. There was when AEW first started, there was the Nightmare Collective and the Dark Order and then obviously the Matt Hardy stuff. In the last year, there has not really been, and maybe I'm missing something, maybe I'm forgetting something. There hasn't been a whole lot of like quote unquote universe breaking things that have happened in that company. You know what I mean? It's been pretty much a pro wrestling company where everybody exists in human form, and you know what I mean? Like it's not really anything that wild. Even the Dark Order, they've kind of after that December show that we absolutely roasted, completely unbelievably roasted, a couple years ago, that sort of slowed down a little bit, and that became pretty normal. And even the Brody Lee stuff was rooted in reality. It wasn't rooted in any of the Lucha Underground shit, as you like to say. And the Nightmare Collective went away and was never spoken of again. And like you said, we had the brief kind of foray into the Matt Hardy thing, and now he's just kind of like a dude. You know what I mean? Like he's just a normal human being. So that has been reassuring that they have been human. Like again, it's so ridiculous that I have to qualify this in a fucking pro wrestling show, but it is nice that everybody's been human. Nobody has died. Nobody's levitated. Nobody's time traveled. Like we've kind of kept it into just being human beings and a wrestling show, which is unfortunately something that we do have to qualify again. That is wild. But yes, Tom N strikes me as a guy who would like to break all those confines of human beings and the human universe. But hopefully, they tell him, how about you just kick ass? How about you just go out there and throw some fucking spin kicks and kick some ass? So you want to wear a little eye makeup to sell your eye injury? Cool, buddy. Fine. Do it. We don't care. But just go out there and throw sidekicks and just be an ass kicker. Let's just do that instead. So, hopefully.
Source in the room says it won't be a problem.
Yeah, I hope. I'm confident in that. Yeah, I think, like I said, the last year I think they've been pretty good about it. So,
a source in the room says it won't be a problem.
Now, will they have to? Will they get annoyed of having to deflect his dumb ideas week after week? Probably. Given the Twitch stream where he just would not shut up about his ideas, probably. And I guess that's a good thing that a guy's like excited about his character and excited about his stuff. But I can see that getting a little annoying when. Knock, knock. It's Tommy with a piece of paper, and you're like, "Oh, Jesus Christ! What now, Tom? What?" Like, all right, no. It's not like my last idea. All right, so what happens is I kill Brandy, and it's like, no, you're not killing Brandy.
Like, right. Like, yeah.
I steal Liberty, and then I kill Brandy. No, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
It'll be good heat. No, we're not having you steal his newborn and kill his wife. No, we're not doing it.
Look, if he wants to be a goth boy and be dark and brooding and be a little spooky, I'll roll my eyes, but I can live with it as long as he's not doing sorcery, as long as he's not doing like black magic, as long as we're not pretending that he's got like mystical powers, I can live with it. I still think it's a little dorky. It's a little cringe. But as long as he just at the end of the day, he gets in the ring and wrestles, I don't have a problem with No, even the rebranding, the Malakai Black. I mean, yeah, I roll my eyes. I just think he should be Tommy End, but it's just the name. You know what I mean? It's just a name, and the thing with names in wrestling is eventually you get used to them, and it's people make too big a deal of that sometimes. But what you don't want is Malakai Black wearing a fucking dark fucking hooded fucking coat and stirring up a brew and putting the Eye of Newt. Like once we start getting to that territory, then I'm out. If he starts casting spells and kidnapping people. And but again, I'm pretty confident. I'm fairly confident that that kind of shit that he talked about on the Twitch stream is not getting through. And if he wants to wear different colored tights, and do little Easter eggs, for him and his super nerdy fucking fans, I don't give a fine.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. As long as
I just don't want Excalibur to say, I just want Excalibur to address it is fine. So yes. Knock yourself out, pal.
If you noticed, I wore a green stripe on my sock, and that signified that Luchasaurus was my next opponent. Yeah,
cool.
Fine.
Cool story, bro.
That makes you happy.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? As long as you're not casting spells on Luchasaurus or murdering fucking Marco Stunt in a fucking sacrifice, then I don't care, because I don't have to pay attention to that stuff.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. So we'll see. I mean, great debut from Malakai Black, and we'll see. I mean, the guy can go, absolutely. Yeah, he can absolutely go. It's the worry that we have, and obviously we will still have until we kind of see him go. But like we said, like the source in the room, it seemed to indicate that that stuff won't be as much. Which is the unfortunate part.
What this fucking guy doesn't realize is there's no shortage of spooky dorks in pro wrestling right now. What there is a shortage of are fucking no-nonsense ass kickers.
Right. A guy where the bell rings and he throws a spin kick and he can kill you in 10 seconds via a kick. Yeah. That's cool. Do that.
And he could be that. He should exploit that instead of trying to be spooky guy number 973, which that doesn't, but I don't know. Who knows? I don't know what goes through the minds of these people. But yeah,
and there's plenty of people too on the other side, on the flip side of that will tell you, oh no, it's good. He should do that. It's cool. It reaches non-wrestling fans and all this like bullshit that we hear over and over again. Yeah. And again, like we always say, okay, the one example everyone's going to bring up is The Undertaker. Cool. Okay, great. There's some arguments about The Undertaker, first off, to be made. Like, you always say you thought he was a fucking dork, even in 1992, because you were pretty much an asshole. But that's fine, whatever. Like, that even if you think The Undertaker ruled, great. That's one guy in 40 years in major American pro wrestling that has really worked at that level. Bray Wyatt, that when all that stuff started to get supernatural, it stopped working. And it was a cancer to everybody it touched. When it hit Dean Ambrose, it ruined his career. When it hit Seth Rollins, it damaged his career. Once you started doing that shit with Bray Wyatt, when he wasn't just the creepy cult leader guy, once he became a supernatural and ghosts and fucking Sister Abigail's and shit, it was a wreck. It was a disaster. And even though Reddit mutants love it, it's never been it's not been successful on any level whatsoever at that point. And the Fiend never was either. And it's like, yeah. So and again, we did it a few weeks ago. We were talking about Aleister Black. Like, people come up with, oh, this stuff's good. This, what about The Undertaker? Okay, cool. What about Mordecai? You know what I mean? Like, I have so many more examples of it not working than I have one example of it working. So maybe go with what usually works as opposed to what almost never works. That's just, if I was running a business, that's how I would operate. Is, hey, what's something that usually works? I'm going to do more of that as opposed to something that very, very, very rarely works. Continuing to try that and hope that maybe works again like it did that one time. It's bad. That seems like bad business, but that's fine. AEW seems to hopefully get that, so that's big Tom End there. But let's talk about another debut that happened on AEW this week as well. Andrade, not his official debut, but his first match, we should say here, for Andrade in AEW. And I know you've had some Andrade thoughts on the Thursday TV reviews. I know you had some Andrade thoughts on this week's Thursday TV review. So I don't want to make you repeat yourself too much there, and people can obviously listen to that on the $5 tier, patreon.com/voices of wrestling. But what did you think of Andrade versus Matt Sydal?
I thought the match was fine. I think people are being too hard on the match. I don't think it was a great match, but I thought it was a good match. It had a flat finish because Andrade's finish isn't over, and it stinks. But more importantly, it isn't over. So it felt flat because people weren't sure. Like the next time Andrade does that move, people will react at like it's the finish. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's why the finish was a little flat. But it wasn't like a great breakout performance or anything like that. It wasn't the right kind of match or the right kind of performance for his debut. And I thought Seidel was really good in the match, but Seidel's been good all year. But yeah, I just, the match was fine, but it didn't need to be a match that was just fine, especially after his debut was kind of a dud. His first match really needed to be a home run, and it wasn't. But the bigger concern for me is that he didn't really get a pop when he came out, and no one's treating him like a star. I mean, you could argue he got one of the worst pops on the entire show in terms of people coming out. I mean, and that kind of mirrored the reaction he got when he was introduced in the first place. So that's the bigger concern here. The match could have been better. The match layout could have been better. His performance could have been better. Vicky is doing him no favors. His introduction did him no favors. His gear is doing him no favors. But despite all of that stuff that I am not pretending, I'm not pretending any of that stuff isn't working against him or not helping him. None of it is. And that's all bad. And the rollout hasn't been good. But that's not the core issue. The core issue to me is Andrade is not the charismatic superstar that people perceive him to be. He's just not. There's no evidence of that in America. Put Mexico aside. I'm not talking about Mexico. Okay? That's a whole different animal. Carlos Colon, biggest star in the history of Puerto Rico, couldn't get over in America. Sometimes you don't get over in a different place. Sometimes you get over in one place, but you don't get over in another place. We just talked about the Renegade Warriors. Got over huge in Puerto Rico. Couldn't get over anywhere else. So I'm not talking about Mexico here. I'm talking about America. Guy came to NXT. He was that suspenders-wearing dork who was so frustrated that
You always bring up the suspenders. I was a big fan of the hat. You always bring up the suspenders, which is true. The suspenders were but the hat. The hat was so dorky. It was so weird. It was like kind of small and like it was bad. People forget about that. If you close your eyes and you think of Andrade in NXT, everybody thinks him and Zelina main eventing, a takeover and having a great match. There was a long period of not that. There was a long period of suspenders and the little hat. Andrade, which was not good.
He almost quit.
Yeah.
He almost got cut because he could not get over. He doesn't have this overwhelming natural charisma that people claim he has. He just doesn't. He didn't show it on the main roster. He was a good wrestler on the main roster. He had some nice matches on the main roster, but he never came across like this guy that had overwhelming superstar charisma. The only time he ever got over as a top guy is when they put him with Zelina. And as we said at the time, and this is not revisionist history, as we said at the time, Zelina was the star of that act, not him. She was the key part of the act and the star of the act. The entire basis of that story was she was this gold-thirsty person who wanted to go to the top, and she used him to get there.
Yeah, he just happened to be the person that she picked, yeah.
Yes, and she would bail him out in every one of his matches. Rich, what was the key high spot in every Andrade match in NXT?
Yeah, she would interfere or get involved
and
or pull the referee out or yeah.
She would do the Rana off the fucking apron. That was the key high spot. She would always bail him out. She was the star of the act, not him. Okay? And whenever he's been apart from her in America, now looking at this AEW run as well, it's always underwhelming. Why? Because you think Andrade is this ultra charismatic shoe-in lock of a superstar, but he isn't. He doesn't have it. There's something missing with him, and I don't know what it is, because he has the size, he has the look, he has the body, he has the ability. But Rich, how many guys have there been historically who almost had everything, but they were missing that one intangible that you couldn't put your finger on, and they never quite got over the hump? And maybe they had nice careers, and maybe they made millions of dollars even, but they never got to the heights that people thought they were going to get to. There is a trail of pro wrestlers in history who either didn't make it at all or maybe got to a certain point and that was it for them, and he's another one. I don't know what it is that he's missing. I don't know what it is that he's lacking, okay? And I'm not writing him off forever. He could be a top guy, but he's not someone who's you're just gonna plop him in there and he's gonna get there. It's gonna take some work because he doesn't have it. I don't know what it is in his case, but he's missing it. He got in that ring last night and he did not pop off the screen. He did not pop off the screen. You can blame Vicky. You can blame the match. You can blame the match structure. You can blame his gear. You can make all the excuses you want for this guy. Okay? Go ahead. But I can tell you this, Rich, and I guarantee you this. If a month ago or whenever it was, if Vicky Guerrero comes out and she introduces CM Punk, do you think he gets a reaction?
I think he probably would, yeah.
If Vicky Guerrero comes out a month ago and she introduces Bryan Danielson, do you think he gets a reaction?
Probably, okay. Yeah, I would say pretty good chance, yeah.
These are rhetorical questions, of course. Right, okay, if she introduces Brock Lesnar, I can go right down the line. Pick your free agent star of choice. It is, this guy is not them. And the problem is, people think he is. He's not. He never was. And again, leave Mexico out of it. If you want to bring Japan into it, he was a mid-carder there too, and I liked his work. But mid-carder feuding with Shinsuke Nakamura, who was a main eventer. Nakamura moved down the card to work with him. Look it up. Okay? And I liked his work there. I like him. But he's not just this natural, automatic top guy. Okay? He's not. And they're not doing him any favors. They're not. I'm not arguing that they're handling him well.
Right.
His presentation has been atrocious.
Yeah, right. And I think you and I kind of agree on this. Is I think that the presentation, the rollout, and everything has been very bad, terrible. But he is not, like you saying, he's not an overwhelming enough superstar to make up for that. Where, like you said, if CM Punk came out and we're like, fuck, Vicky Guerrero, like, what are they doing? It wouldn't matter because it's like, who cares? CM Punk's in AEW, that's fucking awesome. Like, who cares? He'd still get a huge pop. He did it at GTS. The crowd would go nuts. Everybody would go nuts. Whereas Andrade needs all the help. He is a guy who definitely... There's something there with him. I think there's obviously money to be made with this guy. I think you can obviously do stuff with him. He just needs to have the right scenario around him. And in the case of NXT, they got there. They got there with, with Zelina, where it worked. It was like, okay, cool. This is a perfect pairing. This works. This is good. Zelina's, can make up for all the stuff that he doesn't have. She can make up for it. And that is where I think you're going to have to get the most out of Andrade. If you are going to get the most out of him, is you are going to have to put him in a perfect situation. He is not a guy that you just roll out and say, okay, go, get over. And it's like, he's never been that guy in America. He's never been a guy that you could just say, okay, go, get over. And that's going to be an issue because AEW... maybe they thought, and seems like a lot of people do think that eventually, like, he's just a guy that's going to get over, and I think you and I both disagree that, like, they need to do everything that they can to give him everything he needs to get over. He's one of those guys, and when it works like that, it could be very good. It could be a main event thing. It could be an upper mid card thing. But just having him go out there and just giving him whatever, and in this case, Vicky and the rollout that has been less than whatever, it's been pretty bad. He's not a cream rise to the top type of guy. He's a guy that's going to need a bunch of stuff to accentuate his positives and hide his negatives. And so far, they have not done that in AEW, and he's not a guy that's going to rise above that. So now we're kind of at where we're at right now, where obviously he's been here for a month and he feels like a complete non-factor. Just no buzz about him. The match had nothing to it. And yeah, who knows? It might end up working out, but like, it seems very hard to project whatever this is right now, whatever's going on Andrade right now. It's hard to project that ever becoming anything more than just a mid-card guy.
I mean, again, the presentation aspects of it aren't his fault, but do you think he's a guy that's getting in there? He's let me put it to you this way. And I think this is a point you made earlier when we talked in the Slack or something, but he cannot overcome this lousy presentation. He's not a guy who's going to be able to overcome that. So he's someone where you're really going to have to fix the way he's presented. And, if people think, okay, he could fire Vicky Guerrero on TV next week. If people think that's magically going to get him over, they're wrong. I mean, that's such a crutch to blame that, or to blame the 50-50 Matt Sydal match. None of those things helped. And now look, he should have went in there, and I don't think the match should have been quite as competitive as it was. That's a match where you give Matt Sydal, one little hope spot, and then Andrade cuts him off, and he beats him decisively, right? But they kind of went 50-50, which was the wrong structure. The gear, I don't care about that. I mean, that doesn't mean anything to me, because I don't think the gear is to the point where he's making a mockery of himself or anything like that. I think he looks fine. And from what I understand, is it what he wore to come out? Isn't that some kind of cartoon character or something? Isn't
maybe. Dude, I don't know. You're asking the wrong guy, unfortunately.
I think he's one of these guys doing a cartoon character or whatever. But it also fits the whole Los Ingobernables thing where he comes out with the suit and he
yeah, that's classic, and that's been through his entire career basically.
So I'm not all wrapped up in the gear like a lot of people are, but you know, it's at the end of the day, none of these things are helping, but they're not the reason that he's not coming across as a star. He's not coming across as a star because, and I'm sorry, and people won't want to hear this, he's not a star. Can he be a star? Yes. Do I pat him on the back and congratulate him for becoming a sought-after free agent and probably securing an enormous amount of money due to this perception that he's a big star? No doubt. You know, good for him. Okay? But listen, this is what we've talked about since the advent of AEW. This is great for everyone, this kind of competition, because guys like this who haven't really proven themselves as stars can go out there and get big money because of getting offers and the people being competitive to try to sign these guys. So good for him for taking advantage of that, exploiting that. You know, it's important to take advantage of that buzz when you're a new free agent, especially with him where he got the there's no compete
waived right away.
He got that waived and everything. So, you know, but yeah, this is a guy where listen, I'm not writing him off. I want people to understand this. I'm not writing him off. I would love to get a hold of this guy. I'd love to book him because I think I have ways that I could get him over to a superstar level. And it's not anything that they've done with him yet.
It's not giving him a grandmother. It's not giving him a grandmother and some weird dude and having him wrestle 50-50 matches with Matt Sydal. It's not the way I would book it. I think I would book it slightly differently. So,
what do you think of the argument of, okay, but they did the same thing with Miro because they were waiting to push the pedal to the floor on him, so they kind of stalled it out with the video game stuff, and then when they were ready to put the pedal to the floor, they were able to do so, and look at him now.
I think that's
what do you think of that counter argument for Andre?
I think it's a terrible counter argument because I don't think they ever intend, hey, let's book this guy badly. No, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think they sit in the room and go, hey, what's the worst way we can use Andrade for 3 months so that when we do decide to push him well, people will just forget that all the bad stuff happened. Like, I don't think that happens. Like, I think they thought that they were doing the right thing with Miro. I think they think that they're doing the right thing with Andrade. Nobody books, very few people, I should say, book with the intent that it's going to be bad. So no, I don't think it's an intentional thing, and I don't think it's a good thing. I don't see why you would want to do that. I mean, you have the guy, and the problem was with that is you risk that when you do try to put the pedal to the metal, it's not going to matter, and people are going to say, well, fuck this guy. We don't care about him anymore. So right. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't pay a guy a bunch of money and then book him badly for 3 months with the hope that eventually when we decide to book him well, that it's going to go well. I mean, that's an asinine argument. The Miro thing is good now, but that doesn't, let's not whitewash the fact that it was a fucking disaster for a while there. Let's not retcon it and say this was always the goal is to, you know, it was supposed to be bad so that now it's good. Like I'm not, you can get rid of that shit with me. I don't care.
To be fair, we were told that they weren't pushing him yet and they weren't going to push him until 2021. And then it did play out that way. Now, what I would say about Andrade is I feel like they're trying to push him now. That's
no,
the
they think this is good. Like this is the like I don't really think in the room they're going, well, how can we stall Andrade for 4 or 5 months and then they think that this is good. Like they think that they're doing the right thing with him. There's no chance in hell that they're paying the guy the money that they're paying him and doing all they did and the way they debuted him with the idea that, hey, you know what? It's just a holding pattern until we're ready to do something with him. This is the thing that they want to do with him. It's just not working. It's bad. So that's fine.
Yeah. No, it's not working. And, none of it's good. He's not coming across like a star at all. He's got a lot of things working against him. It's kind of, unless they have something else up their sleeve, which I'm not aware of, it's to the point where you got to maybe start rethinking it a little about what you're doing here and possibly changing course in some ways. And again, it's the crowd reactions that are concerning to me. That tells you that the fans don't see him at the level that a lot of, that for whatever reason, there's this perception that he's a bigger deal than he really is.
Right. You're now going to have to do a little bit more
buildings are
work.
telling you
Yeah.
that.
Now, if you're in that room, you got to say, okay, we thought that this was going to be, hey, it's Andrade, and everyone's going to go, yeah, but it's not. So now it's like, okay, now we got to treat him like he's somebody that we just signed off the street. You know what I mean? And try to build him up in our company, in our universe, because yeah, the idea that he was just going to walk out and be a superstar, we're past that. That's done. I don't think we're not going to get there. We've had opportunities to get there. We're not there. So now it's a building. Okay, what are we going to do now to build this guy? What are we going to do? Because it's not going to be easy. We're not just going to be able to say, hey, it's this guy. Like, because I'm sure that was the goal. I mean, that's obviously the one day goal with Malakai Black was, hey, it's this guy. And everybody went, yeah, like they don't have to do much more with him. They kind of have it now. And now it's just kind of telling the story from there. Andrade, you're not getting that. So now it's not, I don't want to use the term square one, but you're kind of at that point too, where it's like, okay, now we got to figure out how to get this guy over because he's not over.
Yeah, I'm told it is a cartoon character. His name is Black Mask from the Batman.
There you go.
So there you go.
Yeah, Black
That's
Mask.
what he was cosplaying.
One of your favorite. You love. If there's something Joe Lanza loves, it's dumb jock wrestlers like Davey Richards and Dynamite Kid and cosplaying comic book characters. So yeah, the key to Joe
This
Lanza's
one's
heart.
pretty. This one's so obscure that I don't even really.
Never heard of it. Yeah, like I'm not like a superhero guy, but I've literally never heard of that ever. So
no. So and again, it kind of fits his aesthetic to begin with, with the Los Ingobernables thing. So,
sure.
Yeah. Anyway, that's Andrade.
You wanna go to the phone lines here?
Yeah.
I say phone lines. It's like it couldn't be further from phone lines. I'm old school like that way. So anyway, we'll go with Liam here. So let's see if Liam is ready to chat. Liam, you're still muted, pal. All right, Liam's done. Oh, he's unmuted. There we go. Liam, are you here? All right, hit the bricks. You're done. We'll go to Liam in a second. So he's done for right now. Let's get all right. Let's get Yoshihashi's loose explosion fart. What's up?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm all right.
You all right? Are you sure? That didn't sound like you were all right.
I was getting out of my seat at work and
okay,
doing this.
You should be working, sir. First off,
I do security and stare at cameras all night. It's not really a big deal. I was gonna say,
rob your place.
Jobs.
I was gonna say, rob your place.
Listen,
where do you work?
Listen, Jobs. The point here is jobs stink. You should probably just quit. I mean, let's be honest. Nobody, what are you going to work for? Go home and watch a ball game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway,
I want to watch Shohei Ohtani get like 40 home runs before the All-Star break, but I can't do that.
Why don't you hook up the game to one of those monitors you got there instead of? I mean, you're clearly not paying attention.
Yeah, Warehouse 3. Who cares about Warehouse 3? Throw the game on there.
I used to do that. That's the thing, but I got in trouble for that. So that
seems. I mean, honestly, that seems kind of fair to get in trouble for that.
Yeah. I wanted to say, so I like Malakai Black or whatever as a representation of like the metal community and whatnot because I like that. But it doesn't mean he's not a dork, and people are being too apologetic for, but it's fine because that's the kind of people he likes. Or he's a Satanist because I think he actually is a Satanist or something like that. Ooh, spooky. But I think people aren't giving him too much credit for that when the fact that it's still kind of dorky to your general population. Just because you find it cool doesn't mean you're not a giant dork for doing it around regular people.
Joe, you're a member of the goth community. What do you think?
Oh, I'm a member of the goth community?
I don't know.
He's not exactly goth, but yeah.
I was shoving goths into lockers when I was in high school. How am I a member of the goth community?
Well, then you know them. You speak to them. So speak on what he's talking about here.
No, I mean, look. Again, I don't mind any of this, provided he doesn't dip into sorcery. Or he starts, stirring up cauldrons and sacrificing people. Then it's fine. You kind of just roll your eyes at it, and if it's going to make him feel like he's creatively being listened to, as opposed to the last place he worked, then maybe that makes him happy. But I think he also has to understand that even though AEW is more talent friendly than WWE, seemingly. Based on just about every account of people who have been in both locker rooms. I'm curious when we run into kind of the first piece of talent where they get all of their shit constantly rejected by the big guy.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, because we haven't really run into that yet. You know, we're still kind of just honeymoon stage in a lot of ways. But we got some new people coming in. And, you know, we haven't seen anybody leave AEW yet and then just fucking, you know, napalm the bridge on the way out and say how terrible it's been. That day is going to come at some point. So, you know, a guy like this, you know, if he has a lot of wacky ideas and they're constantly getting turned down, I mean, you know, because he definitely, anyone who listens to those Twitch streams understands he absolutely needs to be reined in. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
I want to say a good comp for him would be Brody King, and they're both friends. You can do that and not be an absolute dork and be an awesome badass ass kicker, or you can be a spooky kind of wizard guy.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think he'd be best served to just be an ass kicker who wears black. I mean, I think that would work, and I think that has a higher ceiling, to be honest. But you know, I don't know. These guys forget that, you know, they're fake fighters. They all want to be fucking fantasy writers. I don't understand. You know, go write a fucking book then. You know, there's other ways to get those creative juices out of your system other than trying to incorporate it in. But he was also in an environment where that was clearly encouraged, and because you know, he probably looking at Bray Wyatt thinking, well, I'm smarter than this guy. I've got better ideas than this guy.
Right.
And you know, so the environment there doesn't, you know, the Undertaker and Bray Wyatt were in that company. So that's only going to encourage people who like Tommy End.
Right, and one of the more celebrated characters, I mean, the entire time he's been in there, they have loved nothing more than The Undertaker. I mean, think about everything they've done for The Undertaker over the last, you know, few years for him. So yeah, it totally makes sense that you'd see that and go, okay, well, that's the way to become a star, is do what The Undertaker did, which, you know, I get it, but I wouldn't.
Yeah, I at the end of the day, I do fear, like, hey, dude, you're a great wrestler, but please stop doing the cringy shit that a lot of people make fun of people who listen to heavy music for. Like, because if not, you're just a bad representation and look like a giant dork.
Well, thanks for the call. I think that you know, look, someone in the room says it'll be reined in. That's, you know, so I'm gonna trust that until it's proven otherwise.
Absolutely. But yeah, the point that you made, I think, is an interesting one, and I've made that on some Q&As as well, is that we haven't seen that honeymoon period for AEW has lasted for like 2 years at this point. Like, you know, nobody that's been fired or let go has went on the, you know, Smart Mark video and buried them, and no one's gotten on Twitter and said, fuck those guys, like they don't understand wrestling or whatever. It's going to come at a time. Like, it's going to happen. That is definitely going to happen. It's just, it's a matter of who it's going to be and when's it going to happen. But yeah, we haven't seen that yet, but it's coming. It's definitely coming, where the guy says, hey, I had all these good ideas and those idiots, they don't know how to book, or Cody only cared about himself, or the Bucks only cared about themselves. Like, that's coming for sure. But yeah, who's going to be the first guy that raises that stink and makes a big deal about it? We'll see. I mean,
there's Evilise, but nobody cares.
Nobody. I mean, Jesus. Yeah, that's just screaming into the ether with her, because yeah,
when you have a reputation of doing that,
you've burned every bridge imaginable. Yeah, nobody cares.
Well, that's when people are like, okay, well, the problem is probably
right. It's you. That's not the problem. Like, yeah, you might have real concerns, but it's the wrong messenger here, because it's you, and you've burnt every bridge you've ever been on. So.
Now, if somebody like Christian leaves the company and starts talking about how terrible it is, now you're going to pay more attention,
right?
Because he seems like an affable guy who's done, you know, who's gotten along everywhere he's been. So, you know, that's kind of.
I've always put Janela as my first guy. Somebody asked me who's the first guy that's going to bitch, and I put Janela as the one. But he might just be like, whatever. You know, even if they fire him, he might just be like, whatever. Let's go back to Jersey and work GCW type stuff. I don't know if that stuff bothers him as much as people would think it would, but I don't know.
Well, here's the thing with Janela. I don't know whether he's disgruntled or not. I have no clue. The thing with Janela is, if he is disgruntled and he does leave the company, he won't be shy about talking. That's, I think, the point you're making. Yeah. Like, he's not someone who's gonna. No,
he's the first guy that if he's pissed off and he quits or they fire him, it'll take him literally 7 minutes before he's on some platform complaining about it. Not that he's a complainer, but he's just an opinionated guy, and that part of his brand would benefit from him being that guy. You know what I mean? He could go on GCW and become a fucking mega star more than he even ever was. As I was the guy that was in the big company, and that company fucking sucked, and this is where real wrestling belongs. Like not to say that that's, you know, but no, that he would understand the benefit to his business of being that type of guy, which is totally fine.
If he feels like he was treated unfairly, he won't be shy to let people know.
No, and he'll utilize it and leverage it in a positive way for his career,
sure.
which he should, which is you know, not the worst thing in the world to do. All right, you ready for Liam again? You think Liam's ready this time?
This guy, you know, we give him one more try.
Okay, Liam, are you ready? Liam,
give him a second. Sometimes there's a little delay.
No, I got no time for this. Liam, right here. I was gonna plug. Liam does a podcast with Garrett Kidney on this very network.
Oh, you just did.
Classic
it sounds
TNA.
Like you just did.
And I'm giving him this plug, and I'm giving their show. You've got to be kidding me. A huge plug here. And Liam's
Garrett is going to be so disappointed with this.
He really is. Liam's still in the room. He's in the room. I haven't kicked him yet.
Hand wave.
You're done? Liam?
Hand wave, yeah. Hand wave.
You're out.
Right,
I don't think
what else we got?
Does he get another chance? We got Danny. You ready to talk to Danny?
On this topic again? All right, one more on this topic.
Yes, and then we'll move on. Then we'll move on to some other stuff. So, Danny, can you hear us? Danny. All right.
All right, we're moving on. Next topic.
All right, guys. When you are in the hold room, be ready to talk. When we put you into the main room, be ready to talk. Well, I wonder if that was no, because you can hear me. I was gonna say that maybe that's my issue, but no, you can hear me just fine.
Here's the bottom line.
Loose explosion fart cloud. He heard us.
Loose explosion fart cloud was the only person who had their shit together, and that's just so typical of this show. That's somebody named Loose Explosion Fart Cloud.
Yoshihashi's Loose Explosion Fart Cloud got his shit together.
Yes.
Danny and Liam,
Correct.
No idea what they're doing. So.
Right. So, what do we got?
Anyway, let's move on to some other topics here. So that has been actually, you know what? No, Joe, let's do this. Let's talk about our sponsor for this week's show, MyBookie. And I was going to ask you, Joe, have you been doing any action on the? Because I know you've been a big soccer guy, a footy guy for a while. Have you been putting action on it, or are you just watching footy without any stakes in the game?
Hey, let's not overstate this.
Stop. You've been waving the Italian flag, going nuts. You're in there. You're mixing it up with the soccer guys. I'm going to tell you, you're a full-fledged soccer guy now.
I've been poking some
bears. The beautiful
bears.
Game. Yeah, you've been loving the beautiful games. So.
I've been poking some bears, and it's been working. Most people understand I'm doing a bit. But look, the games are on it.
No, dude, you've worked yourself into a shoot, man. You're watching all these games. You're getting excited about it and analyzing it. Get out of here with your I'm working a bit. I'm working a bit. Get out of here.
Listen, do you really think I'm going to be over here crying into my cereal if England beats Italy on fucking Saturday or whatever it is? I'm never going to think twice about it again. I mean, but if Italy wins, of course, I'm going to be on Twitter fucking, waving the flag and England's the perfect opponent because we have like 9 billion followers from England who, are going to take it to heart. So of course I'm going to troll them a little bit if Italy wins this game this weekend. But I mean, come on, please. You think I'm going to take an Italy loss to heart the way I would the rest?
You're jumping up and down going, oh, the whole time. That's in your dad.
Yeah.
You got a big drum. You go, doo, doo, doo.
Banging drums. I'm wearing the
noisemakers. You're just going nuts.
I'm wearing the flag like a cape.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chanting the Italian football team's chants. I don't know what their chants are, but
and that national anthem bangs. You ever see those guys sing that?
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's a good national anthem. Yeah. Man, most other national anthems are good. I don't want to say spoiled is not the right word. We think that our country has a good national anthem, and then you hear other countries' good national anthems, and you're like, ours is the worst. What a terrible national anthem. You hear like Japan's like, oh my, I get choked up on a good Dragon Gate show. You got, Masato Yoshino there looking down. They show the flag with the, and I'm like, oh man, I'm like, oh Japan, what a great country. I'm like, what am I doing?
The Italian guys all look.
You see KZ looking down. You're like, oh man, what an emotional moment this is.
All the Italian guys look very Italian too on that team. They're very.
I have seen them. That's a good Italian lineup there for sure.
One guy who's a cross between CM Punk and Austin Aries. Have you seen that guy?
I think I have. I don't know his name. I don't know any of the names. I've watched like literally 15 minutes maybe of Italian football this this year. But yeah, it's a good little crop of guys. Yeah, they look fun.
Bellini or something. I don't know his name. The one guy's name is E-Mobile, which is a terrible name.
That seems like a bad omen. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. What's his first name?
Very
immobile. Is he good? Ironically, is he fast? Is he very fast?
I think it's Immobile.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's a striker, like
Hell
a
yeah.
forward,
That's
so
awesome.
I think
That's
he
perfect.
can move.
Yeah, that's good.
But his name is Immobile, like it's spelled immobile is his name, which is very,
ominous,
bizarre. Yeah. But the goalie's a fucking beast. The goalie is a tremendous. Don't they call them goalkeepers in soccer? I'm not even using the proper terminology. That shows you how big a fan I am, Rich. I don't even know what to call. Like they call it a goalkeeper, right? Not a goalie.
Well, you are asking the literal, maybe the worst person in the world to ask any football questions too. So yeah, I can.
Well, I am from the cradle of American soccer,
New Jersey. So, what a tweet! Oh my god.
Absolute
the one that could almost barely sustain its professional soccer teams. Yeah, it's.
God, they stripped the New Jersey part off of the fucking Red Bulls name.
They do so bad in
so
attendance.
much for the cradle. It used to be the New York, New Jersey. Now it's just the New York Red Bulls. Even though they still play in New Jersey, and even though they still can't draw 15,000 fans per game, despite the fact that they only have like 12 or 13 home games a year, they've had 7 sellouts in 21 seasons. 7 sellouts in 21 seasons. And yet this is the cradle, allegedly the cradle of American soccer. Hit the bricks with that shit. Get lost. Listen, trust me. I know New Jersey. No one in New Jersey gives a fuck about soccer, okay? There's like 3 towns in northern New Jersey. I'm going to tell you why. Remember Tony Meola?
No.
Remember Tony Meola?
I don't remember Tony Meola.
Which tells you all you need to know about the footprint of soccer in America.
Tony Meola?
Okay, so Tony Meola was the goalie or the goalkeeper for the 94 World Cup team.
Okay.
The American World Cup team.
Okay.
The one that had Kobe Jones and Alexi Lalas and all those guys. Okay. So Meola was the goalie, and he was an Italian guy from Jersey. He had a ponytail, real Italian-looking dude. He looked like Furio from The Sopranos. Okay, so he's the goalie, and he was from like one of those North Jersey cities, either Ramsey or fucking Tony Soprano country, okay, up in North Jersey. So he gained a little bit of popularity in New Jersey. He even tried out for the Jets. Of course, he didn't make the team because in America, professional football players are, come on, a soccer player wasn't making the professional. When I went to high school, Rich, this is how it worked in high school. You tried out for football. If you didn't make the football team, you played on the soccer team because you didn't want to do nothing for the fall. So, like, if you couldn't make the football team, then you're like, shit, I'll go play soccer. That's how it works.
Get some cardio in. I don't want to join cross country, so I'll just join soccer. Yeah.
I'll play soccer to get ready for basketball season in the winter. You know what I mean? That's how it was. Like if you didn't make the football team. So that, Meola tried out for the Jets. He didn't make the Jets. But the point here is Meola was kind of a big deal in North Jersey for a little while, right? And there's a couple towns in North Jersey that still like worship Tony Meola. And those high schools are like really into their soccer program. You know what I mean? So that's where all this bullshit comes from. But Rich, you can find a couple towns in any state that are really into their soccer team. It doesn't mean anything. No one else in New Jersey gives a fuck about soccer. If you asked 100 people on the street in New Jersey, in a mall somewhere, go to Menlo Park Mall and ask the first 100 people you encounter to name a single Red Bulls player, you will have 0 out of 100 people.
Probably more people ask you, who are the Red Bulls? It's probably the first thing.
Yeah, the Red what? The Red who? Okay. Now, if you go up to fucking Passaic County or something and ask 100 people, you might get 4 or 5 people who can name you a player because they're one of the 13,000 people that actually go to these dopey games. Nobody else cares. Go to Cumberland County, New Jersey. They don't even know what the Red Bulls are. Okay? No one cares about the Red Bulls. It's on the 19th page of the fucking sports section of the North Star Ledger. Okay? No one cares. Cradle of American soccer. Hit the bricks with this shit. No one fucking cares. Like no one else in America cares. Okay? At least in Atlanta, they draw. At least in Portland with the dopey Timbers, they draw. It doesn't even draw in New Jersey. Again, they stripped the New Jersey part off the team name. I've been past that dopey little stadium. The train goes right by it when you go to New York. Those are in that fucking thing. Jeez. God, that tweet annoyed me. I know that was a couple weeks ago, but you brought it up.
We've been sitting on that one for a while. So, for context, for people that know, somebody said something, and you were like, "Hey, nobody cares about soccer in New Jersey." And some guy quote tweeted you, yeah, okay, the lifeblood of American soccer, nobody cares about it, or whatever, the cornerstone of American soccer, nobody, it's like, okay, all right, cool.
No one fucking cares, trust me, that nobody fucking cares about soccer in New Jersey, just like they don't care about soccer in most of the United States. And I don't have a thing against soccer. Nothing against it. I'm not like a fan or anything, but I'm not like an anti-fucking soccer guy.
Right, I'm the same. I don't care. I just don't watch it, but I don't really care. If it became the most popular sport in America, fine. Okay, I don't care. I'm probably not going to ever watch it, but that's cool. That's fine. Whatever.
And this idea that the Italian, Rich, I obviously grew up in an Italian family. I'm not saying this to like try to make my point. I know it's anecdotal. I honest to God can't recall a single instance in my life of any Italian in my family ever talking about soccer.
Rooting for Team Italy in the UEFA.
Like, oh, did you catch the Italy game in the World Cup? Or, oh, I'm going to go check out the Red Bull. No, not a single time.
Right. Some people might care about it right now briefly because the Jets aren't playing yet, or the Giants aren't playing yet, but that will be very short-lived, and in the next month, the next 2 weeks, they'll be talking about, training camp for the NFL, and they'll never care about
no one fucking
UEFA
cares.
Anymore,
my Italian family in New Jersey is still talking about Don Mattingly. But they're not talking about fucking soccer.
Right.
Okay? They're talking about the Giants and the Yankees. Because my family, they're all Giant Yankee fans. But some families, it might be the Jets and the Mets.
Islanders. Maybe Islanders. Maybe they're talking Islanders right now.
Maybe. That's Long Island. That's a different animal, too.
Yeah.
But I assure you, with every no one even cared about the Nets when they were in New Jersey. That's why they're in Brooklyn now, because no one gave a fuck when they were in New Jersey. Okay, it's the Giants, the Yankees, the Mets, and the Jets. Soccer isn't even a fucking thought. No one thinks it. I could go to a family get together. I could hop on a plane and go to New Jersey tomorrow, and I guarantee you, Don Mattingly comes up, and the Italian fucking national team never comes up. If I sent a text to my group text of all my uncles and these fucking wops back in New Jersey and asked them what they think of the game this weekend, they're going to be like, oh yeah, the Mets are playing the Pirates in a 4-game series. They're not going to know anything about Italy playing England on fucking set. And they can't be more Italian than these people. Trust me. No one cares.
Well, you especially, and then we'll finish this ad read that we've been doing here. My bookie better pay us double for this one. It's been a great ad read. But you especially, because you have lived through at least 4 or 5 of the soccer's coming to Americas. Like, because you lived through it in at least a little bit in the 70s, maybe not the whole way in the 70s, but you got a little bit of the Cosmos and the Pele and the, hey, soccer's the thing. And then it obviously went away. And then like the late 80s, they were like, indoor soccer, actually, that's the thing. And then that went away. And then the 94 World Cup came and it was in America. And they were like, haha, soccer is coming to America now. And then it went away. And then you've lived through the early days of the MLS when, hey, by the way, soccer is going to come. And then we had David Beckham who came to America and came to the MLS. And then soccer was going to come. And now we're here in 2021. And Joe, soccer has not come yet. So I've lived through 3 or 4 of them. You've at least lived through 5 or 6 of the get ready, soccer's here.
Yeah, it's the Cosmos. Remember the New York, New Jersey Cosmos?
There's a great documentary about the Cosmos. They're a fun story, but yeah.
Let me tell you something. Fucking Pele came here and it didn't happen.
Pele. I was going to say, they tried David Beckham. That didn't work. They tried Freddie Adu. That didn't work. In the 70s, they tried fucking Pele, and it didn't work. It worked for a year.
Pele came here.
It worked for a year, and then Pele's playing in front of 2,000 people in an empty Meadowlands.
It didn't happen. Right. It's not going to happen. Bring whoever you want. Bring Totti. Bring fucking Maradona. That'd be hard. Bring,
he's a tough get these days. Yeah, Maradona's a little tough to get these days. That would be a thing guy? if they resurrect Maradona and put him in that. That could maybe do it. I don't know.
Who's the Argentina guy playing for the Copa now who just never won it before?
Why would you ask me? I don't know.
Maradona.
No, he's dead.
Yeah, that's the dead guy. Who's the Argentina guy? Best in the world. He's never won anything. No. His big thing is he's never won anything. Cool. But he's the best player in the world.
All right.
And they're playing. Argentina is playing Brazil in the South American Eurovision gimmick. They got the Eurovision going on right now in Europe, but they got the one going on in South America too, and it's Argentina. I know more about soccer than like you think I would.
Yeah, you're doing pretty good here. Keep going.
They got the Argentina against Brazil, and this Argentinian guy who's the best player in the world, he's never won a World Cup. He never won the fucking, I think they call it the fucking Copa or something. And this is his chance because, like, he's getting up there. What's his name? The chat room.
Lionel Messi. Is that who you're thinking of?
Messi. Yes. You can bring Messi here, and it's not going to fucking happen because they brought Pele here, and it didn't fucking happen. Okay? So Messi's got a big opportunity this weekend against Brazil, okay, to win that Copa gimmick. And then next year is the World Cup. So we're going to have to hear it all over again, Rich, especially if America qualifies. We're going to hear it all.
It's coming.
How it's going to happen.
It's happening.
It's gonna fucking happen, you know. But listen, I will concede. I'm into the Eurovision thing, but here's the thing: if Italy had gotten knocked out in the fucking pool play, you think I'd be watching any of this shit? I'm doing it as a
guessing
bit.
No.
Okay, look, it's like 70% bit, 30% live sports is on. Why wouldn't I watch? That's kind of what it is. You know what I mean? But if Italy was eliminated, it would be, I'm not even watching this. But the thing is, it's on in the early afternoon before the baseball starts. So why not put it on if I'm home?
Sure.
Right? It's fucking live sports. I'll put it on. You know? So anyway, that's, man, I can't believe you hit that nerve with me with this Cradle of American Soccer bullshit with fucking New Jersey. Unbelievable. But hey, I think we have a MyBookie ad.
Yeah, this is actually the beginning of the MyBookie ad, so it's been a long one. As I said, they're going to probably have to pay us a little bit extra for this
you
one.
You can't timestamp them all that.
Yeah, no, I'm going to call it right here. So, Joe,
forward?
This episode of the Voice Wrestling Flagship Podcast is sponsored by our friends at MyBookie. And Joe, have you been betting on anything lately?
Yeah, I've been betting on the Eurovision soccer, and I've been doing some baseball parlays. You know,
there you go.
No heavy lumber or anything like that. But yeah, I've been in the mix.
Yeah, things are going to get a little interesting over the next few weeks. I mean, you got the NBA Finals obviously going on. And MyBookie has a ton of player props. I was looking a little bit earlier, and I wanted to get involved in some of them, but unfortunately, they have just locked. I was going to go and discuss some of the ones that I saw earlier today, but they locked them because the game just started, so I can't do those. But there's some fun stuff. So even if you don't want to do just the games, that's the cool thing about MyBookie and what they can offer, is that if you don't want to do, hey, I think the Bucks are going to win, or I think the Suns are going to win, or I think Italy is going to win, or I think England's going to get, you can do that stuff. That's fine. You can do that from baseball. You can do parlays, you know, that sort of stuff. But I tend to think that a lot of people are going to start liking those, the prop bets, especially the player prop bets. This NBA game, this NBA final game before they tipped off, they had, you know, Brooke Lopez rebounds, you know, 6.5, and PJ Tucker points 4.5 over under, and I'm like, oh man, they're really I mean, they're bets that had me really seriously thinking, oh man, and like really analyzing, okay, here's what can happen in the game to make this happen and that happen. That's some fun stuff, and you can do that all at MyBookie. So yeah, get involved in that. NBA Finals obviously going on, MLB going on, and plenty of other stuff as well at mybookie.ag. And if you're looking for something to bet on, this weekend is a great opportunity as well, because you have UFC 264, Joe, the highly anticipated rematch of Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor. You gonna put any action on Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor? Not a UFC guy, so I know you aren't either anymore. So I guess you're not. Okay, fine. McGregor is currently listed as an underdog in the fight. And bets on Poirier to win by KO would pay out nearly 2-1. So that's some pretty good action you can get there. As we said, Conor McGregor, as of this recording, is currently listed as an underdog, and obviously his track record speaks for itself. And also you can do, hey, I think this guy's going to win by this. So Dustin Poirier, if you think he's going to win by KO, that's going to pay out nearly 2-1 this weekend for UFC 264. So you can do all that sort of stuff. So whether you're backing Poirier, or you're backing McGregor this weekend, or you're betting baseball, or you're betting UEFA, Euro, Cup, whatever the hell, you can take advantage of all those bets and wait for stuff to go on live in-game betting as well. Sign up today with MyBookie, mybookie.ag, and use the promo code VOICES. And you'll receive up to $1,000 in bonus money when you make your first deposit. That's $1,000 in extra cash when you make your first deposit at MyBookie. So mybookie.ag, use that promo code VOICES, and you'll get up to $1,000 in bonus money after you make that first deposit. So you bet anytime, anywhere, anything with MyBookie. mybookie.ag, promo code VOICES. So I'm really disappointed they locked those prop bets. There's some fun ones up there I was going to talk to you about, but
what are you going to do?
Yeah, a few ones I wanted to get some action in. There was, who's going to win the tip-off, and then, like, who's going to hit the first field goal, and like the odds are incredible for those. You know, I mean, you put $10 on Chris Paul to hit the first shot of the game, and you're going to pay out like $200 or something like that. It was insane odds that I was just like, man, I want to get involved in this, but didn't have a chance to do it yet before the game. So, and they're playing right now as we're going. So, okay, let's get into some other topics here real quick. And obviously, phone lines are open, so if you want to do that, you can jump into the hold room. We have a few people waiting right now. But Joe, I want to talk about some worrying WWE ratings that we've seen over the last week. So I'm going to kind of run down every single one of these shows. So you had Friday Night SmackDown, Joe, last week, and obviously it was the day before the 4th of July, or what would the Friday have been? What was the date on Friday? I've kind of lost. Oh, that was the 2nd, so it was 2 days before the 4th of July. But anyway, Friday's edition of SmackDown. This is from Brandon Thurston at WrestleNomics, obviously the WrestleNomics podcast here on the Voice of Wrestling Podcast Network. Your best source for that, also WrestleNomics.com. But this past Friday's edition of SmackDown saw the show drop to its second lowest viewership average since launching on Fox. The episode over the weekend averaged 1.8 million with viewers, 1.8 million viewers, 1.86 million viewers, with 597 viewers in the 18 to or 597,000 viewers in the 18 to 49 demo, and it was the SmackDown's lowest number since last year's holiday weekend, with July 3rd, 2020. So it kind of matches up year to year, being the worst, back to back there. And that show averaged 1.7 million viewers. So this one did a little bit better than last year's kind of holiday weekend show, but still the second lowest viewership average since launching on Fox. And then we jump ahead to Raw, which obviously happened a few days later after that. Again, from Brandon Thurston, Raw averaged 1.47 million viewers on the USA Network. The show did 536,000 viewers in the 18 to 49 demo, and that's pretty identical to what it was last week as well, pretty even there. But the previous low for Raw occurred on December 14th, 2020, when it averaged 1.5 million viewers, going up against a Monday Night Football game that did 12.4 million viewers. So essentially what we have here, Joe, is as far as the data goes back, as far as the data that we know, this week's Raw, lowest average viewers of any in Raw history we had here. We reached the bottom here on this week's Raw. And then we'll jump ahead to NXT here, and then we'll kind of recap all this and talk about it. Again, from Brandon Thurston, this week's NXT, the Great American Bash, which we're going to talk about here in a bit, averaged 654,000 viewers and a 0.18, about 232,000 in the 18 to 49 demo. That's, Joe, that has to be a disaster, right? That NXT number. I mean, these are all not good numbers. SmackDown, second lowest it's ever had. Raw, the lowest ever. And NXT barely makes a blip despite this Great American Bash show and all the branding around that and all that sort of stuff. I mean, what do you make of these numbers here? Because these are pretty ghastly looking numbers.
Well, the week before, NXT did a 0.13.
Yeah.
And then the Great American Bash comes out with those numbers. 0.18 you said, right?
0.18, yeah, 0.18 in the 18 to 49.
Which is an atrocious number for Tuesday Unopposed and a themed show. I mean, that's awful. That just goes to show no one is watching. NXT is just not connecting with people because they're back down to their head-to-head numbers, their head-to-head viewership levels when they were head-to-head with Dynamite. They went up a little bit when they moved to Tuesdays, and obviously Dynamite has benefited from NXT moving away from them. But now they're right back to those levels, so nothing they're doing on that show is connecting with viewers. SmackDown and Raw is an all-time low. You want to blame 4th of July, go right ahead. I'm sure it had a little bit to do with it, even though it was the next day. People are off of work.
Yeah, that was the day that I got off work, and that was the national holiday was the 5th or whatever. But I mean, still, it's at the end of the day, with all of these arguments, if the show was good, people would find a way to watch it.
Absolutely.
That's always been my argument when people say, well, the competition was this, and this happened on this day, and it was snowing here, and it was raining here, and this game was here, and that game was here. If it's good, people will find a way to watch it. Does not matter what the hell is going on, other than literally landing on a Christmas day or whatever, which that does happen sometimes, and those ones I'll kind of let go. But yeah, I'm not going to make an excuse. Well, Monday Night Football's on. Well, Monday Night Football's always going to be on. Oh, there was an NBA game. Well, NBA games are always going to be on. Oh, there's a hockey game. Well, hockey. If you have a good product that people want to watch, they will find a way to watch it, even if there's an NBA, an NHL, or a football game on.
Well, maybe it wouldn't have been an all-time low, but it was still going to be a terrible number.
Yeah, it was not going to be good.
An all-time low is an all-time low. I mean,
all time. I mean, that's as far as the numbers go back. I mean, and I think even people prefaced it by saying, well, we don't have all the 1993 numbers, and it's like, Jesus, we're going to 1993. Like, we're looking at those numbers. Like, we're getting to that level, and that's where we're at, unfortunately. So it's
been on holidays before. This is the lowest.
Yeah.
I mean, look, and everything else is down. I feel like we've been talking about this for a few years now, though. And, it's like you're saying. I mean, people can talk about the changing television climate all they want, but how'd the NBA playoffs do this year, Rich?
Pretty good. They're about 13% up year over year. They're not great. They're not where they were a couple years ago, which actually speaks to a little bit of my point is like, you can use the NBA playoffs and the NBA finals as an excuse, and they did well. They did well. They're way up over what they were year to year. They're very good numbers, but they're like, half of what they were 4 or 5 years ago or whatever. So even then, you're not even against like the top competition. You're against heavy competition, and people obviously were reconnecting their their cable to watch the NBA finals. But yeah, the number is good for the NBA, but hardly an easy slam dunk excuse to use for WWE is, oh well, look at the NBA finals. It's like, well, I mean, they're up, they're good numbers, but they're not exactly a juggernaut like they were a couple years ago or back in the 90s or whatever.
How are the NBA finals up year over year and with apparently no one watching TV, but Raw is down and doing all time?
Well, it's a holiday. Yeah, it's a holiday. So, yeah.
So, I mean, it's the trends are poor. The trends are bad. There is no consequence, though. And we've talked about this a million times. There's no consequence. But if Raw remains as bad as it is in terms of the show itself, because the show is atrocious, only the most super hardcore of the most hardcore WWE fans at this point even bother defending Raw on any level. So if the show remains that bad and Dynamite pump out shows like they did this past Wednesday with those hot crowds and a universally positively reviewed show, I think there's light at the end of the tunnel of Dynamite possibly catching them within like 18 months. I don't think that's crazy to say.
No, it's really not, and I did not think it was going to get to that level as much. And we'll see when they return to fans if there is that bump up, like because this is if you remember, it got like real ghastly there for a while during the the empty PC thing, and then the Thunderdome kind of saved them a little bit and gave them a little bit of a rise.
What's a bump though? What's a bump up? Though?
That's what I mean though. The bump up is it's not it's nothing significant.
Couple 100,000.
Yeah, right. And that was going to be my point.
We're not gonna have 3 million people watching.
No. And I think I don't know if anybody believes that that's the case. I mean, I think there are maybe some irrational people that believe that, but yeah, I mean, we're talking. I mean, they're going to be under 2 million, no doubt. Like, there's no chance in hell they're going to be.
Remember Raw being under 2 million was like, we couldn't believe it.
It was under 3 million. We did shows earlier. We're like, oh my God.
Couldn't believe it.
3 million. Oh, gee. I mean, you go back a couple years ago and you're talking 4 million, and that's numbers that are like, oh man, I don't know. Then it got to 3 and it was like, oh, this is bad. And then, then we had a show where it was like a meltdown when they got almost near 2 million. And now they're like, 1.5. And they're like, oh, you know what? Hey, it was a holiday. It's okay. Like it's ridiculous. Yeah, it's absolutely wild.
I don't think that the younger people who watch Raw, not the over 50s, the over 50s, we know who they are. Those are older wrestling fans who what they do on Mondays, because it's been embedded into them for decades, is on Mondays, I watch wrestling. Doesn't matter how shitty it is. I don't even think most of those over 50s enjoy it. They can't because they remember wrestling when it was good and fun. But they're habit viewers and they are wrestling fans. Okay, that explains the over 50s. In terms of the younger demos, I don't believe that those people are wrestling fans. I believe that they're WWE fans. I believe that these are the quote-unquote new fans that they've created through their new methods of doing things. These are your stans. These are your people who, with your Alexa Bliss and Liv Morgan fucking role play accounts. These types of people who aren't wrestling fans. They're fans of WWE and whatever it is that they're presenting in sort of the era we're in.
They're WWE fans. I think it's the easiest way to boil it down. They're fans of this company.
And they haven't created enough of these people to replace all of the people they've run off, which are the rest. They've run off the wrestling fans. I don't believe that wrestling fans under 50 are watching the show anymore. I believe they've replaced them with these new WWE fans who don't have any. They're not going to be interested in Dynamite. They don't know what Impact is. They're not going to watch fucking New Japan. Right. These are WWE fans. Okay? They enjoy this presentation. They enjoy all these things we complain about. The bright colors, the fucking lights all over the place, the commentators repeating everything a million times, the choreographed entrances, they enjoy it the same way they enjoy something like the Kardashians or any other show of that ilk. They have these characters that they've latched onto, and that's they like and that's why they can't understand why people like us complain about it. Because they like all of those aspects. The problem is, I think that's a bad strategy because they've run off all the wrestling fans, and there's not enough of these people to replace the wrestling fans. And I think what's going to happen is these will not be long-term viewers. When Liv Morgan moves on, or Alexa Bliss moves on, or New Day moves on, or whoever, these people are going to move on. They're going to follow Liv Morgan into whatever Liv Morgan does next. They're not going to, because they're not wrestling fans. They're not in this for wrestling. They're in this to, latch on to these personalities that they happen to enjoy. And I do believe that it's going to be a short shelf life for that kind of fan. Plus, they all skew very young. And young people bounce around their interests very frequently, especially now, with shorter attention spans and all those sorts of things. Things get hot, then things cool off. K-pop is not going to sustain. We all know this.
Right.
I mean, we all know this. We've seen this before with boy bands.
Well, and the thing, too, that you're mentioning, it's a very communal thing. And then what's going to happen is if a few of the stands go away, then the other stands are going to go away because they enjoy standing out with their fellow stands. You know what I mean? Like, it's that sort of thing that they're doing. And they love RPing as their Liv Morgan account and all that sort of stuff. But once, like you're saying, a few of them go away, a lot of them are going to go away because then they're going to lose that communal aspect. And they haven't made lifelong fans. They're going to say, you know what? Like me, I really started becoming a fan in 1998 or whatever, 1997, 1998. All my friends stopped watching it. They all said, you're dumb, wrestling is stupid. And now I'm here, Joe, talking to you every single week for the last 10 years. So obviously I have not let it go. And they all let it go. They created a lifelong fan in me who stayed with it and stuck with it and has watched now forever. But they, in that Attitude Era, lost all those guys, and those people never came back and never watched it ever again. And yeah, like we're seeing obviously the fallout of that, but we're also seeing that that fallout could happen again because of the you look at the ratings patterns, you look at who these people are, and it could get even lower than this.
I think it can. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a bottom. The bottom is zero. I mean, the over 50s are never going anywhere, but eventually they're going to age out and fucking die. I mean, it's for them, the over 50s are, I feel like, are going to be far more loyal than some of these newer fans they've created. And it's not, it'd be one thing if WWE was connecting with teenagers on a wide scale level, but that's not the case. No. They're connecting with some of these teenagers and younger people who just happen to have taken a liking to this thing. Now, if it was more widespread and we were in some kind of new boom and it was teens that and people in their early 20s that they were attracting in mass like it was during the Attitude Era, then you say, okay, well, now there's room for some of these people to fall off and lose interest in it because they're casting such a wide net, and the show's doing 7 million viewers a week that the settle point might be 3 or 4 million viewers a week. You see what I'm saying? So, but I don't think that's the case. I mean, it's like I said, I think they've run off more wrestling fans than they've attracted these new kind of fans. We have interactions in our Twitter. Remember that one time I referenced Bret Hart, and the person didn't know who I was talking about.
I don't know who that is. You mentioned Bret Hart and Tiger Mask, and they're like, I don't know who that is. It's like, oh.
And so that's someone who just became a fan like last year or something because they think that the fucking Riot Squad, looks cool. You know what I mean? Like,
right. It has no interest in really learning the history. They're just going to turn on their TV or honestly turn on their Twitter every Wednesday or every Monday and Friday or whatever, and that's it. That's the extent of their watching or their viewing. And I mean, honestly, one of the things you can look at as well, and this is a case, we saw it a lot in the days of TNA, and I'm kind of addressing that now in the Slammiversary series I'm doing at patreon.com/Voices of Wrestling. Is in the biggest thing that you can look at is monetizing and getting those people that watch your TV. How many of those people are now paying extra for your stuff. It's really easy to turn on your TV or jump onto Twitter or jump onto YouTube and watch some videos and do that sort of stuff. But how many people are paying you for the right to watch more of your content? That to me is something that's so important in engaging true fan interest. And we've always talked about how AEW, they do a pretty damn good job. You look at the percentages of people that buy these pay-per-views and whatnot, and yeah, it's not it's not unbelievable numbers, but it's pretty damn good numbers. Impact always had that issue. They would have 3 million people watch their TV, and then 20,000 people buy their pay-per-views. And it was like, oh, all right, like, who cares? Like, it's essentially worthless then at that point. If you're not buying these pay-per-views, if you're not really giving us extra money. And we can look at the same thing, and we ranted about it for years and years and years about the network. When that first WWE Network number came out, we said, fuck, what a disaster. You have all these millions of people that you claim are have an affinity for WWE, and all these millions of social media followers, and all these, and then even look at Raw. Okay, at that time it had 4 million viewers, and you could barely get 500,000 people to subscribe to your network. That's not good. That doesn't mean they're not active customers in that sense. They're cool because they'll watch your TV, and they're cool because they'll talk about your stuff. But you're not you're not that valuable as a customer, and those are the type of fans you're talking about. Those kind of fly-by-night fans. Those are not they might think that they're hardcore because they put when Liv Morgan likes one of their tweets in their profile, but to WWE, to a business, if you're not paying them extra money, if you're not being monetized on any more level than just, hey, occasionally I watch your television, then you're really not you're not worth that much, and you're not a hardcore fan, and you're much more likely to be the fan that just, when you get bored, move on to the next thing. Okay, what's next? What's the next fun thing that I'm going to get into with all my friends? Type of stuff.
Well, what you're saying is backed up by the fact that every consumer metric is down and trending down.
Right.
And my point is there's just not a lot of these people. They haven't attracted a lot of them because the shows stink. It's not good. The product they're putting out is bad. So they haven't really created some new fan, but they've created them in such small numbers that it's see, that's my point. I don't want people to think that I'm saying that they're creating all of these new fans that are, between the age of 15 and 25. I'm saying they haven't created enough of them, and it's because the shows are terrible.
Right.
It's because most people turn on Raw or come across SmackDown on Fox and they think, who the fuck in their right mind would watch this shit? They laugh at it for 30 seconds, and then they put something else on.
To borrow a term from Barrios, there's always going to be churn in every sort of any entertainment medium. Sure. People are going to come and go and come and go and come and go, and that's just a natural thing. The problem, though, is if you look at the ratings patterns over the last 5 and 10 years or whatever, they go and they never come back, and new ones never get made. And that is a very worrying issue if I'm WWE, is okay, we keep losing fans, which is fine. That's going to happen naturally, but we are not gaining enough new fans. There's just not new people jumping into this thing. There's not people that are flipping channels or flipping in a magazine or watching an ad on TV or watching an ad on YouTube that go, wow, whoa, what is this? I need to check this out. And even if they do, they probably watch 15 minutes of it and go, what the fuck is this? And leave and never come back. And that has to be worrisome to them because, like you said, the floor is, we're not at the floor. People always say, oh, was this the worst it's going to be? We've been saying that same thing for 8 years now. Is this the worst it's going to be? No. They're going to keep doing worse, I think.
I think it could go down.
Sure. Football's coming, man.
How many?
NFL's coming. It's going to be a big year.
You're not gonna know this. It'd be a Brandon Thurston question, and I can't remember it off the top of my head. But how many viewers a week do they do in the over 50? That's probably the floor.
Yeah.
Something around, a couple 100,000 more than that number. That's the floor. Because again, I don't think the over 50s are going anywhere. If they haven't left yet, they're not going anywhere. That's just habit viewers. They're just it's probably some of the people listening to the show. They've just been watching forever, and that's what they're going to do until they die.
Yeah.
No matter how bad it is. To some extent, that's me and you.
Yeah, no, we're dumb. At least we found a way to use it in a positive manner. Yeah, I really don't watch Raw and SmackDown anymore. And I was that person. Every Monday it was like, well, fuck, it's Monday. I watch Raw. Every single Monday, no matter what. SmackDown would be, hey, if I'm around and it's Friday or it's Thursday or whenever it's on, I'd watch it. But Raw was an every Monday thing, and that happened through halfway through honestly, it wasn't until 2-3 years ago where I finally just said, no, you know what? Fuck this. I'm gonna watch anything else on Monday than Raw. I'm going to do anything else. And that's a very recent thing for me. But I only barely check in on Raw now. Only barely. And that's very recent. Like that most of my, from 1997 to fucking 2017, basically, I would every single Monday sit down, watch Raw. That's done now. I don't do that anymore. My friends don't even text me about Raw. I used to get that every week. What the fuck are they doing? What's this bullshit? I don't hear anything on Mondays anymore. It's ghost town.
So it's the only one you watch now and then. NXT is the only thing you watch now and
pretty
then
much,
on a regular, semi-regular basis. The others you just follow in other ways.
Yeah.
And you know what's interesting is I think they're okay with that. They structure their shows in a way where I think they know that Raw, okay, try to follow me here. I think that they realize that Raw is a terrible television show. But what Raw really is a 3-hour window where they can create content that they can break out into YouTube videos, TikToks, Instagram posts, because they feel like
pre-match B-roll.
B-roll is, yeah, absolutely. Because I think that they feel like there's value in people following it through those methods that are just as valuable and will be more valuable down the line than television, which is crazy to me when you look at the amount of money that the television is bringing in. I would think you would focus on making the best television show possible. Now, this is just my theory, but when you watch Raw and you watch SmackDown, you almost get the sense that it's just bits and pieces meant for B-rolls and YouTube. Don't you feel that way when you watch these shows?
Yeah. It was a couple years ago where Wei Ting from Post Wrestling said that like it's a lot easier to enjoy this show if you just realize that it's just basically they're just shooting for B-roll. And you're like, and I remember hearing about that. I'm like, that's kind of weird. And he's like, just think about it. Like, listen to the promos, listen to the way they talk, the way they look, everything. It's all just fodder for, okay, cool. That's a 1-minute clip of The Miz talking. Great. We can use that in a promo. We can use it on YouTube. We can use it on TikTok, whatever. And when you think about it in that context, you're like, yeah, fuck, that's kind of all it is, which is
He's right.
insane. There's no connective tissue. It's just a lot of 1-minute sequences that can be cut up and chopped up and used in any single way that you want. It's a recording studio, basically.
Yeah, you can show Shayna Baszler stomping on the fucking voodoo doll, and you can show her going back and forth with Alexa, but you can cut it up, right? You can cut it up and show the bits that you want to show and put it in a nice, neat, and tidy 45-second package. And then there you go. You've got your B-roll, you've got your YouTube video, and the show is atrocious. I mean, it's downright atrocious. I mean, SmackDown wouldn't be as bad if it wasn't repetitive. And, there's the argument that they're in a holding pattern until fans come back. I don't necessarily buy it because why would you trust this company?
We're doing another bad on purpose thing. Wrestling's just bad, guys. Right. It's not bad on purpose. These people think that they're doing good stuff. Just nobody knows what they're doing anymore.
The holding pattern until fans come back, that's the cover. That's what people say who concede that SmackDown is the same shit every week, but don't want to admit that you're right about saying it's this. You know what I mean? That's like their way of saying, oh, well,
it might be bad now, but I think once fans come back, okay.
Right. And listen, I'm sure that first week or two, they are going to do some big things.
Remember Fox? Remember the first week on Fox? It was the greatest show on earth, SmackDown. How awesome was that first week?
The Rock was on it.
The Rock was on it. Brock Lesnar was on it. Ronda Rousey was on it. It was great. We loved it.
The Rock was on it. And they did under 5 million viewers. And I was like, they're fucked.
Yeah, remember, we came on that week and said, they're fucked. This is over. This is not going to work.
They brought in The Rock, and they did 4.8 million viewers or something.
The biggest, he just made $90 billion. Or Fast 9 or whatever the fuck. It was even in that. No, Cena was in that one. But any movie that The Rock's going to be on is going to make $15 billion. But yes, the best is the Fox's guy because it was in the front row looking at each other and laughing.
Like, what did we fucking
like, Jesus Christ, $1 billion.
like, this shit is so silly, Like, I don't think they had, I don't think it was, buyer's remorse. I think it was people watched this.
They're just like $1 billion? Whatever. I mean, I guess people, that was more that they were in this atmosphere looking around and being like, these fucking dorks. Why do they like this shit?
They had looks on their faces like, we have to go talk to Vince and tell him that we enjoyed ourselves, is the look that they had on their face. So, I mean, when you it's true, Mr. Ting was ahead of the fucking curve on that one, because when you do approach their shows in that manner, not quite NXT, it's a little different. When you which is a good transition, maybe. When you do approach their shows in that manner, it does make you kind of understand what they're doing, even if it's still, in my opinion, incredibly dumb. It just makes for awful TV, and created enough of these new age fans to replace everybody that they've run off, because it's terrible.
Absolutely.
And normal people are stopping to watch this and thinking it's good. I mean, it's just, That's why they haven't attracted them in large numbers.
Right. Let's get to Great American Bash here in a sec. We do have a caller on the line, so he's been waiting for a little while here, so we'll get him up here. Isaac, can you hear us? Isaac.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, see, Isaac figured it out.
Hello.
Isaac's got it. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good.
So I'm a little bit, but the flagship feed's a little bit behind where we are like right now in the conversation, so I missed a little bit. But is there like a topic of conversation, or do I get to pick?
We're just talking about how WWE's bad, and the ratings are bad, and nobody wants to watch it. So, and then we're going to talk about how NXT Great American Bash was also bad, and nobody watched it. So,
yeah. Well, I am
somewhere in there.
Nobody who watched it. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, WWE is very bad, isn't it?
It's not great. It's not great, Isaac. So yeah, what's kind of your viewing pattern of WWE these days? Because Joe asked me, and I basically stopped watching Raw. Basically, don't watch SmackDown. Check in on NXT so often. Like, where are you at in your WWE watching these days?
Just the Rumble matches too, because I still think that's like a fun. It's not good ever. Actually, was the last one good? I forget.
The last Royal Rumbles, yeah, they were all right. A Royal Rumble's a pizza, man. It's even a bad Rumble's pretty good. So
exactly. So I catch the Royal Rumbles. I'm gonna see if I can like try to find some of the gold mine stuff on NXT, because I mean it seems all right, but I mean I don't have time to watch WWE. There's too much stuff and it all sounds terrible, so I just don't watch it.
You're smart.
How old are you?
Oh, you're gonna hate me.
I'm not gonna hate you. How old are you?
I'm 17 years old.
Oh Christ!
Okay, you're 17 years old.
But see, this is good. This is good though. Let's
this is
talk about
actually
this.
perfect.
Yeah, this is perfect.
But
all right.
When did you start watching wrestling?
2013. I started with my first show was the SmackDown, like a couple weeks before the Elimination Chamber, it was a great show too. Like the first getting into wrestling with like the Shield Wyatt family,
it's a good year.
Trios match was great, yeah. And the Daniel Bryan story, I caught it right at the right moment too, because I caught the Daniel Bryan story right after CM Punk left, so they finally did.
They decided to actually push him.
I missed the whole Wyatt family stuff, so I figured that they were doing everything great with Daniel Bryan. I was 9, so whatever, I don't know. But.
All right, so you got pulled in by WWE around 2013. You enjoyed it through 2014. It run you off.
When did they run me off? That's a good question.
When did you stop watching it entirely? Like, you know what? To the point you are now, where you basically just watched the Royal Rumble. When did they get you to that point?
It's been probably 2 years at least, because I remember last year in 2020. The only thing I watched was like WrestleMania. I watched the Firefly Funhouse match because people were talking about it. I didn't even watch the Graveyard match because it didn't really interest me. What happened was in 2019, at that point, I'd sort of become a giant loser. And I was like watching Dragon Gate and all this and stuff that
No. That makes you cool. No, you're cool actually.
Exactly. Heavy shots at Iron Mike Spears.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, Case Low.
I will say I'm very cool on wrestling Twitter in high school. It's different. It's a whole different ballgame.
I get it. Yes. Wait. It's gonna take a few more years, but it'll get there eventually. Hey, play the long game. It's fine.
I know. It's fine. But yeah, so I haven't watched WWE in so long, and every time I tune in, what I do is sometimes like Sean Ross will post like a GIF of like Alexa Bliss hypnotizing someone, and I'll just read the tweets under it because that I get entertained by watching people like it, because I think it's so egregiously terrible. But
so you kind of answered this, but do your friends watch wrestling at all?
Being a wrestling fan as a teenager, it's akin to like saying you're into like circus clowns. Like if you went to school and you're like, yeah, one of the things I do is on my free time I look at videos of circus clowns, you would get the same reaction as if you say that you are like a wrestling fan.
Yeah. So you're still in high school?
Yeah. I don't bother hiding that I'm a wrestling. I'm not ashamed of it. Like I love
Right,
wrestling.
but there's like no other wrestling fans in your high school though. At least
Maybe
out
two.
of the closet.
Maybe two, and they're like WWE fans. Like if everyone in my school, I think it is possible. Am I still with you?
Breaking up a little bit, but I'm still getting you a little bit, Isaac. Yeah, you can keep talking.
All right. Of everyone in my school, I think it's possible there's two other people who would even recognize Okada's name. You know?
I think that, well, see, Okada, I'm actually kind of impressed that there'd even be one. Rich, when you were in high school, there were way more than two wrestling.
Yes, yeah. But I was late stage, like Attitude Era. So when I was in like middle school and elementary school, it was like everybody watched wrestling. Like literally everybody, man, woman, teacher, principal. I mean, literally everybody was watching wrestling at that time. Like it was a constant thing. And then by the time I got to high school, it was like 2002, 2003. And yeah, it was more than 2 and 3, but it was half of what it was, a couple years prior. And then by the time I was leaving high school, forget it. And then when I was in college, I was literally the only person in college that probably watched wrestling at my college. So
yeah, it's so different. Like, cause like I see like old pictures, or like my dad used to be a wrestling fan, and he would like tell me, yeah, like people wore like NWO shirts to school.
Oh yeah.
I don't even want to know how old your father is. He's probably younger than me, and I don't even want to know.
He's not. He's 60 right now. He probably doesn't want me telling you this, but he's never going to listen to this. So.
Right. But you're 17, so he's paying for this. So that's interesting.
He could work. You don't know that Isaac doesn't work. Get out of here, Joe.
Hey, when I was 17, I was still getting my mother to pay for my Pro Wrestling Illustrated subscription. So
Well, my dad does pay for the Dragon Gate Network.
Well, there you go.
See what I tell you, Rich? He's running the hustle over there.
You got to mooch as long as you can. It's stupid.
But then when you asked him about this Patreon, he said, "No, I already paid $10 a goddamn month for your wrestling shit. No more." Yeah.
I pay for this Patreon at the movie theater. I pay for I scoop popcorn, and I coach gymnastics is my other big gig.
There you go. Out there hustling.
I'm raising a new generation of like ricochets. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, you should make those kids. Yeah, you should. There's a lot you could do. Maybe make those kids watch Yoshino matches and shit. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I have brought it up. I've said you guys should check out some Willow Spray. Check out some of that Best of Super Junior.
So now, what do those kids say when you say you're a wrestling fan?
They roll their eyes at me. The kids I coach are like 13. I have no business coaching them. Like they know that I have no power over. Like they don't respect me for shit. Why would they?
But now they're even less wrestling fans, right? They're even less wrestling fans than you and your classmates are, correct?
The kids I coach gymnastics?
Yeah.
No, yeah. Well, none of them really know about it. I'd say they're less judgmental because they're gymnasts, and it's kind of a similar thing where it's like gymnastics isn't like this mainstream thing that people take seriously. I love gymnastics, but
okay. So the point here is nobody's running around your high school with Liv Morgan T-shirts.
Yeah, only Liv Once T-shirts.
Yeah.
No, there's no there's no WWE merchandise really. The closest I sometimes wear like a Lucha Bros shirt to my school, and that's really about it.
Yeah, we know that you're indoctrinated. I'm talking about the wider masses. It's just not happening.
Yeah, one time I saw like a little middle school kid watching like highlights of Raw, and that was the only time I've ever in my high school like seen anyone interacting with wrestling. But I get yelled at sometimes because I'll watch it in class. I'm a good student, but like my teachers will tell me to stop watching pro wrestling in class because I'm in class. But I don't.
See, Rich, this is it's heavily anecdotal, but I was in high school during the worst period for American wrestling in a business sense. Smack dab in the Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
Right, the Tatanka that we were talking about earlier, yeah.
Yeah, and I could tell you that even then, our entire lunch table, it was wrestling talk for 40 minutes.
Right.
On the bus, it was wrestling talk all the way home. And that was a terrible period for pro wrestling. And I just get the sense that it's way worse now in terms of when it comes to, kids, high school students and younger watching this stuff.
no one does. No one watches this. And if they do, maybe they do. They're kind of weird, and I don't want to talk to them. Like, nothing against the wrestling fans at my school, but I'm not. That's not really my crowd. Is the people who like.
Where are you from?
I'm from Ohio, so I'm from like, and I go. Well, the school I go to is different. I go to an art school because I want to do like music technology and stuff. But that's good, you know.
Yeah, but art school, that's kind of like nerds. You'd think that there'd be that would
exactly.
You think that would increase the percentage of wrestling fans because art.
But they're
art
smart. They're smart
nerds.
nerds. The problem is they're smart nerds, and wrestling fans are not smart nerds. So that's
no. The problem is there's no jocks.
That's true. He makes a good point.
That's,
yeah, I mean, jocks are going to be into wrestling. You're going to either get the jocks or the nerds. You know, they're going to be into like when I say nerds, I don't mean like the pocket protector nerds. I mean like the people that I would call a nerd because I was a jock. Like people who are into like fucking
like
you know playing instruments and shit. Like
me,
band
exactly.
geeks and
like I'm like the kid you would beat up, right?
Yeah, like the band geeks or the goths. Like those people, you're gonna those kind of people are more likely to be into wrestling though than people who are preppy, traditionally cool. You know, so you're right though. The jocks though also would fit into that though. You're right.
But the most wrestling fans of any like of the arts department actually right now, just like anecdotally from my school, is theater. Like theater has the most wrestling fans, but I'm not even sure if they're wrestling fans because they're all like WWE fans. So maybe it has something to do with like they like the theatrics of the Fiend lore or something.
Yeah, it's something we talked about a little bit earlier. I don't know if you were on or you were kind of waiting to get on the hold, but yeah, it's exactly something that we said, that they're creating WWE fans, but they're not creating wrestling fans. And when those people graduate or move on or get into something else, are they going to stick around and continue watching WWE or continue watching wrestling? And the answer is probably not, and that's an issue.
I feel like if I showed someone an episode of Raw and like they thought that's what I like watched, I'd have to hide. I couldn't do like the one clip I brought it up earlier, but of like Shayna Baszler or Nia Jax who are like being hypnotized to hit her the manager by Alexa Bliss, like with the sort of like it's basically an acting exercise, like the mirror imaging of the body. If I showed that to someone, I was like, yeah, every Monday I sit down and I watch this, they would think I'm crazy. Whereas if I showed them like Dynamite this week, they might not be super into it. They might be like, who's this weird Malakai Black dude with the eye makeup? But I think they'd understand the appeal more than they would if it was just a WWE show.
Absolutely.
Buddy, when my wife walks in the room, I want to hide and crawl under a couch. So it's totally understood. I have toddlers in the house. I'm ashamed when they walk in the room and see a WWE show on. So no, I totally understand. All right, well, thanks for the call.
Thank you.
Rich, get rid of this guy before we get arrested. I didn't realize we got 17-year-olds coming.
Yeah, working
here.
For us. Yeah,
but yeah,
it's past his bedtime too. He said he's in Ohio, 10:30, or he's going to be past the work release.
His dad's going to cancel his Dragon Gate net subscription if he doesn't do his homework. This Isaac over here. No, but that was insightful. I don't think kids in high school are paying any attention to WWE.
No, God no. Yeah, and like I even know how that was like at my school back in like 2002, 2003 or whatever. Where it was very few, and it was like they were all my friends, or I knew who they were. And I made some new friends based on me, like them wearing a wrestling shirt here and there. But it was us, and I don't know, it was like 30 or 40 of us. You know what I mean? Like legitimately that I knew were definitely wrestling fans. And I'm talking about 30 or 40. You know what I mean? Like that's the big difference between two, like he said, or literally just him. So, or like you said, they're so ashamed of it, they wouldn't even tell people that they watch it, which is another problem.
Yeah, because WWE is so fucking bad and cringy that it's not even fun in an ironic way anymore.
Yeah. A
lot of times wrestling is fun in like an ironic way. WWE is not. It's not fun in any way. It's just atrocious.
We do have some other callers. You want to get to Great American Bash though first?
Yeah.
Then we'll talk to these people. Let's do that. Let's go to Great American Bash here real quick. I did not see the show, so Joe, I'm going to lead you through NXT's Great American Bash, which we talked about. I didn't watch it, and apparently not many other people watched it either. So you, on the other hand, were one of the 654,000 viewers of NXT Great American Bash this week. So the main event, we'll go there top to bottom here. Adam Cole defeats Kyle O'Reilly, a first-time matchup between Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly here. I think, without looking it up. I'm sure this is the first time these guys have ever faced each other. But how was Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly with nothing on the line?
First time they've ever faced.
I'm joking.
You're doing a bit. You're doing a bit. All right.
Nothing
I'm a little
ever
slow,
changes.
right? It went right over my
Nothing
head.
ever changes in this company ever, even on NXT now.
They went out there and worked hard and had a really good match that had some. It was better than their never-ending match, I think. But it had some flaws. I mean, it was built around Adam Cole's injured knee, but yet, by the end of the match, and normally this stuff doesn't really bother me all that much, but in this case it did. He's doing fucking what's he call it? The Florida fucking sunset.
The Panama sunrise. The Panama sunrise, yeah.
Yeah, he's doing the Panama sunrise and then doing the fucking last shots with these injured knees, and it's like it bothered me in this instance. And that I'm not a selling fetishist and I'm not like you can't use the limb anymore, but it was really egregious in this case. But I thought it was a very good match and pretty easily the best match on the show. The problem is what are we doing here in terms of, I know Gargano's getting the title shot this week in a weird dynamic, like heel versus heel or whatever the fuck that's supposed to be.
Yeah, because he's like good now, but he didn't change anything. He's still kind of an annoying little prick, but he's a face because Cross is more of a heel. Yeah.
The heel babyface thing in NXT is just, it's all thrown. I don't know. And WWE is generally very binary with that kind of stuff. So it's not like a promotion where, where the lines are normally blurred in that manner. So it's kind of like, it's very confusing, a lot of these matchups they do. Because Gargano still acts like a little prick. Am I supposed to view him as the babyface against Cross? The way they gave their promo this week, Cross was more of the babyface. So I really don't know. All I know is I'm not interested in Johnny Gargano versus Karrion Kross at all. But I think Gargano might win. There's a chance Cross is getting called up, right? So it's like Cross can beat 4 guys at once, but then he loses to Gargano one-on-one. I don't know. NXT fucking stinks. What do you want me to say?
It's confusing. Yeah, these days it has gotten very confusing, and there's not much to sink your teeth into these days. And like you said, here's a match. It's like a main event between 2 guys that have been there forever, that have faced each other 1,000 times, and it's just a match. There's no stakes. It doesn't matter. It's just a match. It's a match on the card. It takes 24 minutes to get to. So there you go. NXT Women's Tag Team Title match. Io Shirai and Zoe Stark win the titles. They defeat The Way, Candice LeRae, and Indy Hartwell. How was the action on this one?
It was fun. It was a match. I don't know. It's nothing special at all. In fact, it actually kind of wasn't that good. I don't want to beat it up too much, but
you're not alone. I've seen some people. I've seen people say like, "Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was going to be good, and then it just kind of wasn't." And I don't know.
Sloppy,
yeah,
sloppy, and on paper it was better than what we ended up with. I like Zoe Stark a lot. I was impressed by Zoe Stark's singles work when she came to NXT, and it's an interesting team with Io Shirai. I can't take Triple H going on Twitter saying that Io Shirai and Zoe Stark winning the tag team titles is going to change NXT forever and be a turning point in the division. I mean, the balls to tweet this shit with another one of these meaningless title changes. This NXT Women's Tag Team title changes when the fucking wind blows. I mean, there's a new champion like every month. And this team isn't going to hold it for a long time. I mean, let's be honest. But, they did the gimmick where the serial killer came out and carried Indy out at the end. Because, they're like fucking or whatever.
Did they bone afterwards or what?
Well, they're calling them... his name is Dexter Lumis, right?
Lumis,
they gave him
correct.
some... Yeah. They gave them one of those, when Hollywood couples
like
get together.
A cutesy couple name,
like Benifer.
Yeah.
Affleck and J-Lo are back together.
I do. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
Good for Ben.
Yeah. Hey.
Get it.
He's like, hey, I hear you're single. Like, what up? You up? Like, what's up? How you doing? Like,
J-Lo gets worshipped. My wife, she worships J-Lo.
She should
love
J-Lo.
Still
a phenomenal.
She hates Alex Rodriguez with a passion of 1,000 burning suns.
I do too. Has she ever watched him on Sunday Night Baseball? I agree. I'm with her.
She doesn't even know why he's famous. She just hates him though because of the way the whole thing went down with J-Lo.
Yeah.
So then I gave her the backstory, how he cheated his whole career, the steroids, everybody hates him. Yeah. That had fuel to the fire. What is the cutesy name they gave these two? Maybe someone in the chat room knows. You're gonna hate it. You're gonna fucking hate it.
Oh my God! Index. Is it Index?
Index.
Ugh.
Index.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
They're calling him Index.
God, my stomach. Jesus Christ.
Now, keep in mind, he's a serial killer.
Yes. Yeah, he kills people and he also fucks Indy Hartwell. So.
Now, keep in mind when he is. This is now like the third time he's carried her away when she's unconscious.
Yes, he has raped her multiple times too, which is in canon.
Oh.
Well.
Accusations.
I'm just saying, in canon, right?
I'm just saying that
he carries her
guy who's
passed out body, and he's a serial killer.
A guy who's a sneaky serial killer carrying out an unconscious woman multiple times a year after speaking out isn't the best look.
No.
That's all I'm saying.
Yes, I would agree.
And I'm not the kind of guy who gets wound up about things, as we all know. Okay? And I'm not wound up about this. I just think it's not the best look, is all I'm saying. So so their love affair continues, I guess. It's consent. Yeah, Hartwell has shown her affections for Loomis when she's conscious, at least. But
that doesn't make it okay when they're.
He does carry her away when she's unconscious,
right? Multiple times now.
Not good.
Like, that's not good. Like, yes, she consent while she's awake, but that when she's passed out from a wrestling match, that doesn't. Jesus Christ, Index. Ugh, I wish you wouldn't have told me that. My day's ruined.
Oh, listen. It's Index is what they call them. Like on the show.
Ugh.
Like Beth Phoenix would be like, "Oh, it's Index."
It's Index. While she's screaming.
Meanwhile, she's unconscious.
Right.
And he's carrying her.
What a love story! As her unconscious body's being lifted in the back by the serial killer. Yeah. He puts his garrote wire in the back pocket and picks her up. Okay, well, hey.
I've had people in our mentions say to me, "Why do you say he's a serial killer? They've never said that he's killed anyone." And I'm like,
maybe the garrote wire and the black gloves. Yeah, maybe the garrote wire and the black gloves, and the fact that he sneaks around. And I think he hasn't he choked? He choked out. He didn't kill, but he definitely choked out Austin Theory. Remember? He kept coming from behind and choking him out with the garrote wire.
Oh, no. He put the ether-soaked rag over
that's
his
right.
face.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ether-soaked rag.
And he dragged him away.
Very non-serial killer behavior to pass people out with a fucking ether-soaked rag. Yeah.
No, there's no implications that this man's a serial killer at all. There's no indication. The fact that his name is Dexter.
Dexter Lou.
His name is Dexter.
Right.
Okay?
Not at all the name of a famous serial killer at all in TV shows.
The most famous television killer of all time was also named Where do you think they got the name? Like, these people, but
he just wears black gloves with the knuckles carved out of him just because that's a good look, aesthetic.
Rich, he dresses exactly like Dexter Morgan from the hit television show Dexter. It's not subtle. It's not subtle. He dresses like Dexter Morgan. Okay?
He walks to the ring on his hands and knees. Yeah, that's, perfectly normal
His
behavior.
music. The guy's a fucking serial killer. Why are we denying it? You don't have to literally watch him commit a murder, which, as Rich has pointed out, basically has.
Oh my God. All right, that's NXT. Oh, sorry, we're not done. LA Knight, Cameron Grimes. They had a $1 million title match, Joe. LA Knight won.
It was a match.
There we go. Congratulations, LA Knight, on retaining his $1 million championship.
Cameron Grimes is crazy over as a babyface now. So, and I should note, on a show where nobody else was over, they did the Adam Cole baby only because that's like, Pavlov's dog. They're going to do that. Kyle O'Reilly getting "You Still Suck" chants, and no one else really getting any kind of reaction. They're slapping the clap button for the baby faces. They're slapping boo for the heels.
Which, by the way, that's
Cameron
not going
Grimes,
away. I stand by that fact that is not going away. If you think that they're going to go to an arena and they're not going to hit the cheer button and hit the boo button, you're wrong. We have seen it. It's going to happen. That is going to happen. I promise you that's happening.
You're right. You're right. But Grimes was over. He was getting genuine reactions from the CWC fucking or whatever it's called, 200 fans or whatever. There's a few more now. They got a few more in there now. So yeah, I don't know, but it was just a match. This was not a great show by any means.
Doesn't sound great, Joe. I'm going to be honest. Yeah, it doesn't sound great. And then the opener match that I will check out, but curious. MSK, Nash Cardinal, Wesley defeat Timothy Thatcher and Tommaso Ciampa to retain the NXT Tag Team titles. This sounds like it should be good. Tell me it was good, Joe. Was it good?
This was on its way to being a pretty good match. It wasn't bad. It had a weird finish though. MSK won with like a roll-up finish, which didn't really get over with the crowd. But it was a good match. It was the second best match on the show. Thatcher and Tommaso Ciampa are a really good team. So is MSK. MSK, it really surprised me with how good they've been in this company.
They're great in NXT,
but,
yeah.
Thatcher and Ciampa are one of my favorite tag teams this year. I've really liked watching them. They're no nonsense. They go in there and kick ass, and they have good chemistry together and everything else. So, I mean, it was okay. It just had a really weird finish. A finish which tells you that the program isn't over. Or under normal, I mean, I don't know what the fuck, how this company's booked, but normally it's a finish that would tell you, okay, they survived by the skin of their teeth. This other team deserves another shot. Like that was the kind of finish.
Right.
And MSK are baby faces. So especially so with that kind, like heels would do that finish. I don't know. It was just a weird finish.
But there you go. That was NXT Great American Bash. Yeah. Sounds like a thrilling show. Yeah.
You didn't see the Hit Row concert?
I did not. I heard it was pretty good though.
Well, I mean,
they're weird. They're weird because I watch Hit Row because everybody goes, "Oh my god, the Hit Row segment, that was incredible. That was awesome." And I watch the highlights on YouTube. I'll rewatch the segments. I don't know how to think about Hit Row. As a wrestling analyst, I have no idea. Like if I was just a normal fan that didn't have to come onto the show and talk about it and analyze it and all that sort of stuff, I'd probably think, these guys are kind of fun. This is interesting. But as an analyst, I'm always thinking, man, this is cool now, but I don't know. Like, you worry the expiration date is going to come so fast for these guys, and they're going to be like absolute go-away heat in a couple of weeks or months or whatever. Hopefully not. Hopefully they work and they're cool, because I think all the guys are super talented. The guys and girls are super talented, and it's a cool act, and I think it's it's a unique thing. But I worry about the shelf life of it. I could see it getting really old, and I could see us talking in 6 months. Hey, remember when Hit Row was like interesting and cool? And people liked it. Like we did that with the New Day, remember? There was a New Day period where everybody was like in love with the New Day, and then like a year later, pretty much everybody but weird people were like, the New Day is kind of a one-track joke, or there's not much to this, and that was 4 years ago, and now we're still doing the same stuff with the New Day.
That's like 8 years ago.
Basically, I've lost track of the New Day run.
New Day have been around almost a decade, and they're still throwing fucking breakfast foods.
But there was a while where that was endearing and different and unique and fun. Yeah.
They are the most stale. I apologize to Show and Yo, Roppongi 3K, because I called them the most stale act in wrestling about a month ago on this show. The most stale act in wrestling, without question, and it's not even close, is the New Day. I mean, they have not updated a thing in 8 years. It is the same old shit. Blowing the fucking Xavier Woods with the fucking trumpet, or the trombone or whatever.
Oh, Thunderdome! Yeah.
Throwing breakfast sandwiches, right, throwing the fucking pancakes. The same terrible material that wasn't funny then and still isn't funny now. It's just, they are so stale. They've won the tag team titles 175 times, and you can't remember a single title change because none of them are meaningful or meant anything. They are the most stale act in wrestling. But as far as Hit Row goes, I haven't decided whether it's the coolest thing WWE has done in a decade or if it's super cringe and extra corny. I know it's not in between. It's one of the two. I can't decide which side of the fence I fall on.
I think I like it right now, but I'm allowed the ability to think that I also think I hate it, like in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month or so. I realize, wait a minute, I actually don't like this. So, but so far, I think I like it.
I think if they got rid of Top Dollar, I'm going to tell you why.
Oh,
he comes off
Top Dollar.
He comes off like an absolute cornball who's forcing it. He's like forcing it. Shane Strickland or whatever his name is, Isaiah Scott, he's fine. He's the ace of the group. He comes off authentic. I am a Ashante the Adonis fan. You know this. So I like him. And it's funny, they don't let him rap. He stood behind the fucking
and he just chilled.
He was the turntable guy.
Yeah,
but he wasn't really scratching records. You know what I mean? Like he was just because I guess he can't rap, so they didn't let him rap. The other three rap. And I like him. The girl I find so fucking annoying, but she's a heel. That's fine. Like every time she opens her mouth, every time she goes, hit row, I want Raquel Gonzalez to come out and fucking smash her face through the floor. I can't stand her. But that's what they want you to feel.
Right.
But, so she works. Top Dollar is a tryhard. He's like, while the other ones are rapping, he'll like pop his head in and go, and you know it. Like that kind of shit. Like, tell him something. But he doesn't come off authentic.
You're making me hate this. I think I like it, but you're making me hate it because you're describing it, and the way you've said nothing wrong in the last few minutes, and as you're describing it, I hate it. But I think I like it. I don't know.
Like Scott will be rapping.
Yeah, I know, and he goes, you know it. It's like...
No, but it's not even in a cool way. Like
right.
He'll go tell him something, with a goofy smile on his face. It just doesn't. He doesn't match the tone of the rest of the act.
Swerve rules.
And I think
Swerve, you're not going to switch me on Swerve. He fucking rules.
Oh, and I know not, but he was out there, and I was like, wow, he sounds like a real rapper, right? Top Dollar, he just comes off like he's, what he comes off like? Like he's a rapper in an SNL sketch. That's how he comes across to me.
Like he's Keenan
totally
Thompson
inauthentic.
Rapping in a sketch, yeah.
So I think he's the problem where I'm not sure about the act. So I don't know. I'm still kind of on the fence with it. It could be the coolest thing, but it could also be. That's why I really wish you would have watched the performance. Because Rich, he did like 2 fucking songs. This never ended.
I heard it was a long thing. Yeah, I heard it went very long. I will check it out. I'm very curious what they do in front of real fans as well. I guess NXT's.
Well, they did this in front of fans, and it did not get over. The fans were like, just staring at them like, why are we doing a concert?
Yeah, well, concerts
in the middle of the show.
literally never worked in wrestling ever. So,
no. Now they are heels, so you can kind of excuse a poor reaction. More so, if they were baby faces, this would have been a disaster. I still think it was a negative though, because you had the vibe watching this that the fans didn't want any part of this, and not in a we don't like them because they're heels way, in a what the fuck, can we have another match please kind of way. Because it went on fucking forever. But anyway, Hit Row concert. Tony Storm had a really good promo. I'll blow through the rest of this. The dying battery was in fact Tegan Knox.
Tegan Knox.
She was dressed like Eddie Vedder on the 10 tour in 1992.
I was gonna say that's up your alley for sure. You're probably a big Tegan Knox fan now, as of this day.
I mean, maybe in 1992 it would have been, but I mean, and then they did the fucking brackets for the breakout.
Oh, right. I was gonna do the breakout. Hold on a minute. Yes, thank you for reminding me about the breakout tournament. Let's go.
Which the winner of last year's will never be spoken of.
Yes, we are not gonna mention the 2019 breakout tournament winner. He who shall not be named ever. So
they're gonna pretend Bronson Reed won. They're gonna show highlights of Bronson Reed winning a first round match and just say that was the final. So they don't have to mention the name of he who shall not be named.
Okay, so I want you to translate these names to who the human beings actually are. Can you do that for me?
Do that.
Because there's a lot of people listening, myself included, who might not know who all these men are. Carmelo Hayes.
That is Casanova Valentine, the former Northeastern independent wrestler.
Okay, but that's not a totally out of the realm of possibility. That name's fine. Andre Chase.
Oh, Rich.
I know who Andre Chase is, but I am positive 95% of people.
Former Evolve superstar. Tell him something, Rich. I'll be top dollar here.
Harlem Bravado, right? Mr. Harlem
yes.
Bravado. Yeah, there you go. Andre Chase. When I see Harlem Bravado, I do not think Andre Chase, but...
Well, it's weird as they let some other guys keep their name.
Yeah, but
so
he is Andre.
Did I say Casanova Valentine? His name was Christian Casanova.
Oh, you did say Casanova Valentine is very different. Yeah, I didn't catch that. I knew who you were talking about. Yes, it is not deathmatch wrestler Casanova Valentine. It is
right. I mixed up with deathmatch,
which is that is not a good name for that Casanova. Carmelo Hayes is a bad name for that Casanova Valentine, but it is a better one for the one that you mentioned there. So that's now I'm imagining Casanova Valentine as Carmelo Hayes. He comes out, he's wearing the cutoffs. It's like, like, that man's name is Carmelo Hayes. Are you sure? Like, yeah, no, it definitely is. Yeah, comes out with a fucking garrote, his fucking the barbed wire door. He comes out to the ring as Carmelo Hayes.
Yeah.
Trey Baxter.
Trey Baxter.
I know you don't know who this is. I do.
No, if I saw him, I know. I don't. Remember
oh, it's Blake Christian. Blake Christian. The former Blake Christian is Trey Baxter.
He worked a couple 205 live matches.
Yeah. This is the all-timer here. Duke Hudson. Duke
Vink
Hudson.
Yeah, it's Vink. Yeah, Duke Hudson. Yeah, Vink.
Brendan Vink, who's been on TV before. He's Duke Hudson.
No, you've been Mandela affected. He was never on Raw for 4 months.
Get out of here. He definitely was.
He was on Raw every week for like 4 months.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Now he's,
So he's the former Elliot Sexton. If for people that are wondering, Australian wrestler Elliot Sexton.
MCW. Yeah.
Then he was on Evolve he was on NXT. They signed him. Then he went to Evolve. He did a few Evolve shots that I'm sure we talked about as well. And then he appeared on Monday Night Raw like numerous times, like last year for like 2 months.
That's right.
He was on NXT TV too. Yeah,
like the Heyman era. Heyman was a fan of
Vink. Yeah, clearly. And but now he is.
I mean, look at the guy. He should be a
fan.
Yeah,
absolutely. I don't know if I'm calling him Duke Hudson though, but there you go. That is Duke Hudson. Josh Briggs, he got to keep his name, so you know Josh Briggs. Right?
Yeah. I think people will get used to the Duke Hudson name, but it's kind of a shock.
It's weird.
The thing that bothers me is like he didn't exist before. That bothers me. Like I hate when they do that. Like he was on Raw for like 4 months.
Like the Dewdrop thing. Like the Dewdrop thing, which is just like, I mean, just you can acknowledge that it's like, he's got a new name and a new personality. Like, but don't tell me that this man didn't exist before. Like we know, it's not hard to find that out either. But
who do we move on to here?
Josh Briggs.
Yeah. Well, change there. We will change the name of everyone except the Sex Pest. That's what we're gonna do.
Of all the guys that I might want to remove the search history for, I feel like Josh Briggs is probably one of the ones I would do it for. But
I shouldn't call him a sex pest. It was thoroughly investigated. The guy who had sex pest allegations, is that more fair?
Let's do that. Yeah.
We're too big to be small, Rich. We gotta. Absolutely. So yes, the guy who had allegations of chicanery with a potential minor. That's who gets to keep, like you're saying, maybe change the name of the guy who has a bad Google, right? And that might, but that's the one that keeps the name. It doesn't make any sense.
It's very, very strange. Yeah. Joe Gacy, also former Evolve talent. He played over the Indies for a while. He also kept his name too. So
he did. No allegations against Mr. Gacy.
Joe Gacy, as far as we know, perfectly fine.
Clean record.
Your boy, Jiro.
Icky Man
Jiro with his jacket and his music. And he kept his name, he kept his gimmick, he kept his character. He is Jiro.
Even has similar theme music.
Yeah.
But the weeaboos were quick to correct me that it isn't the exact same music.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I've watched him wrestle a couple times now. I wrote up a couple reviews on his stuff. He's the same fucking. They've changed nothing, except a slight name of. The name is he's using Ikeman Jiro instead of Jiro Kurosawa or whatever his name was, and Ikeman used to be the name.
Right now, the nickname is his actual name, basically. So.
He's the same fucking. He does the same shtick, same entrance, and they seem to like him, and I think he could do well there actually.
Absolutely, for sure.
So yeah, that's the breakout tournament.
Oh, Odyssey Jones. You forgot about Odyssey Jones.
Oh yeah, Odyssey. I can't believe they let him keep that name. That's a great name.
That's a great name. He looks awesome. Yeah, he's got a good look to him too. So I'm a big Odyssey Jones fan. So
guy, yeah. He debuted on 205 Live this week.
Did he? Oh, good. Great. I won't watch it, but yeah, sure.
Rich. He's Rich.
He's he's a. Hold on a minute. I'm looking at Odyssey Jones
pounds.
here. I was gonna say 205 Live is.
400 pounds.
Little lax. They made fucking Ethan Page had to lose all his weight instead of Alexander to lose all his weight. Odyssey Jones is like 410.
Yeah, I think it may have been
right under there. Yeah,
I think it may have been the breakout tournament match.
Well, Well, now
Still,
no
it's kind of
205 Live no longer has any ethos. It is just another brand now, which is very disappointing. So
no, they took the title away. They got 400-pound men wrestling on the show.
Over, yeah.
No, but if you want to watch the former Alex Zane, that's the place.
Yeah, I was gonna say, where's he? There's a few guys that I thought would be in here, and they're not. Ari Schneider, whatever the fuck his name is, I forget what it is. It's Ari something, right?
Aria Blake or Ari.
No, it's Ari something or another. We always laugh.
Ari
about
Fletcher.
That's what I keep saying. Or what did I say? I don't remember what it is. Ari something.
Alex Zane.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'll look it up.
Ari Sterling.
Ari Sterling. That's right.
Sounds like a character on our list. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
right.
Definitely. Ari Sterling. Yeah, no, for sure. He sounds like a sports agent. Right. I say Aria Blake. That's like
there is, yeah, there is an Aria Blake, but yeah, that is
No, that's not TJ Perkins. Yeah, that's TJ Perkins' wife or girlfriend or whatever. She's pregnant. Having a baby next month or something.
Great.
That's who Aria Blake is though, right?
I think so. Also, it's a worker, so you weren't out of the realm possibility there. All right, let us. I'm sure they're gonna love this. Joe, let me tell you about Manscaped, the Lawnmower 3.0, and the Perfect Package. This is an exclusive offer for our listeners: 20% off plus free shipping with the code FLAGSHIP at Manscaped.com. That's FLAGSHIP at Manscaped.com. They have created the best ball hair trimmer ever, the Lawnmower 3.0, their third generation trimmer that features cutting edge technology, a cutting edge ceramic blade, reduces grooming accidents thanks to that advanced skin safe technology, an LED light, more precise shave, waterproof, so you can do it in the shower as well. You're going to get that Perfect Package 3.0. It's going to come with the Crop Preserver, the Crop Reviver, as well as 2 additional gifts, a pair of high-performance Manscaped boxer briefs that'll keep your junk feeling fresh all day, as well as a travel bag to store all of your grooming goodies. Trim that junk of yours. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code FLAGSHIP at Manscaped.com. Again, it's 20% off plus free shipping with the code FLAGSHIP at Manscaped.com for that Lawnmower 3.0, the Perfect Package 3.0, and the best in ball hair trimming technology. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. All right. Getting them done. PWG is back, Joe.
Did you mark the time on that ad?
I might let that one go and just say, we didn't do a read.
Why don't you read it? Why don't you read that ad after the show ends next week?
Right,
I mean, jeez. Right. So yeah, PWG is back.
Absolutely, PWG is back. They've announced their return. Mystery Vortex 7, Globe Theater, Los Angeles, California, Sunday, August 1st, and that is going to be it. That's all we know. Mystery Vortex. Do you like this? Do you hate it? What is your thought on them coming back with a Mystery Vortex?
There's a lot of cynical people out there who think they're doing this because there's going to be speaking out folks on the show. I don't buy that.
Oh, I didn't think of that. Okay, that's interesting. I just thought that they thought that their card wasn't that good. So they're just like, if it's a surprise, everybody will be interested in it. Or they won't, they'll get at least a pop for a surprise, or people will be less disappointed. I didn't think of that aspect as well about the speaking out things. I don't know about PWG, though. I think they're pretty smart.
Not going to do that. I don't buy that at all.
Yeah.
People are just very cynical. I don't buy that. I'm also mad at myself because I said the word folks. I hate that word. I hate when people say folks. I hate the kind of people who say folks, so I'm mad at myself. I think the reason they're doing Mystery Vortex is... Remember, they're honoring the tickets from Kobe. Show that was which that tells you how long ago the show was.
I know, Jesus. And you're honored to Kobe Bryant, who has been dead for 2 years now at this point. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I think because all the tickets were already sold, they're like, fuck it, let's just do Mystery Vortex because I don't really have to sell tickets to this thing anyway. That's my theory. It's also PWG. It could just be because that's what they feel like doing right now. They don't really know they have who knows now, but they know they have a hot product and they don't really need, you know what I mean? So could just be coming back. It's going to be an all new roster for a variety of reasons. Let's just leave it at that. So let's have some fun with it and do Mystery Vortex and roll out our new roster that way. I mean, half of their champions are working on national TV right now. That's how long ago they ran. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting because who the fuck knows who's going to be on this thing?
Yeah, I kind of like it from that aspect. Like, obviously, it's PWG, and I'm not going to be there live, and I don't know what the streaming is going to be, and they usually don't.
You'll be refreshing Twitter all night long, though.
Yeah,
Don't
for
say
sure.
You won't
No,
be.
and that's what I'm saying. Like, if they announced their show and it was, and that's why I think the theory is not necessarily that we're trying to hide from speaking out or we're going to book a bunch of canceled people and all that sort of stuff. I think it's more that they probably realize, hey, look, it's maybe not the best card. But if it comes out, if every new person comes out and it's somebody that you didn't expect, or that guy or whatever, then it's going to be, they're smart in realizing that the surprise is going to be the fact that, hey, you're back in PWG, you're back in the Globe Theater, PWG's back. You know what? Here's a show. Just enjoy who comes out. Like, I think it's the smartest thing for them to do is come back with this mystery vortex, because you don't want to lead to disappointments by just announcing a card and then people just go, whatever. But like you said, they've already sold the ticket, so it doesn't really matter, and they can kind of just book whoever they want, and it probably not matter that much either. But like, no, I'm definitely anticipating it, and like you said, I'll be refreshing Twitter and maybe pleasantly surprised by who comes out, or maybe pleasantly excited by who comes out, or who knows? We don't know what it's going to be like, but I don't know. I think this is probably the best way to come back if I were PWG. So
about this, what if you announce the card, and because of the state of the indies, the names don't look very sexy, and then people are shitting on you for a month. Whereas if you don't announce the card, and you just do the show.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Then the show and then the show's really good. Yeah, that's kind of like the same point you were making.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, even if it's if it's the same names, but it's like, here's Fred Yehai, and it's like, Fred Yehai, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, like, just the idea that it's a mystery and you don't know who that next guy is going to come through the curtain. That, when it's Hakeem Zayn and Fred Yehai and, like, those sort of guys, no one's going to be disappointed by it. Whereas if you put Fred Yehai versus Hakeem Zayn on your card, people might go, geez, I don't know about it. It's an okay match, whatever. But, they come out, and it's just, the surprise, the element of surprise will be enough to kind of get people excited about a show that and then, like, the work might be pretty good. Like, the work will probably be good. There's at least a working standard in PWG. So, I think, absolutely, I think that's totally probably what's going on here is they realize, look, the names we're going to have on here aren't exactly the sexiest names, but, if we have a good show and it's all surprises and the fans are hot, then it won't really matter what the card actually is. So
maybe they will be. You get Davey, you get Garcia, you get
hell,
that.
I trust PWG more than I trust just about any other company in the world to book new and unique talents and stuff like that. So I don't know. Yeah, we'll see what they end up doing, but I'm excited. I mean, I'll definitely check it out when it 9 months later when it appears and I can finally watch it. But I don't know, maybe they'll modernize their rollouts here these days. But
will Jordan Oliver be on the show?
Probably, right?
Not a fucking chance.
You don't think so? I don't know.
He can't work to that standard.
I don't know, Joe. They think
They've turned away better people than him.
They have. But
years.
I guess it's not they're desperate. They're not in that desperate of times these days. They could do it if they. Yeah, I don't know. That will be a telltale sign of what this return of PWG is going to be. You're right. The Jordan Oliver, when he comes, that might be the telltale sign.
He's the line.
Yeah. Okay. That's what we're doing here. Okay.
Him and the fucking Yeezy Con guy. The fucking
Everett Con nurse.
They're on it. PWG has seen better days. It's officially over.
Yeah.
No. They stink. I mean, you can't. They can't roll out Jordan Oliver, can they? I mean, I understand he's a quote unquote name.
Yeah, I would certainly hope not, but can't tell you. Yeah, the one problem is going to be fly-ins are going to be tough with PWG, obviously, because they were tapping into the Australian market there for a while. That's not going to happen. The Mexico guys, I'm assuming you can get most of the Mexico guys, but
there's plenty here. They can get a lot of those guys.
Yeah, they can get definitely a bunch of those guys. So your Arezes and your I think if I think like a Vikingo would be awesome. Like he could really steal the show if they can get him in. Arez will definitely be there. Yeah.
Whole Laredo Kid, Arez, Latigo, Black Taurus crew. They'll probably
they'll all be there. They'll all definitely be there for sure. So.
At least a combination of some of those guys, if not all of them. I mean. They'll be on there. Gotta get Garcia. That's a PWG. Like come on, PWG would be all over a guy like that under normal circumstances. He did not get Davey unless he burned the bridge, and we're told he didn't. So Davey hasn't burned the bridge at any point with them. You got to get Davey in there, right?
Certainly. Oh, absolutely. Big return. for him. So no, I'm excited. Yeah, it'll be pretty cool. I do trust PWG, but like you said, yeah, if Everett Connors comes out, it's going to be
Josh Alexander. Got to get Josh Alexander.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and I'd be interested to see about some of the no compete guys of those people.
Yeah, that's always a mystery. Yeah,
who come in
and some AEW guys.
I'm
honestly.
sure. Yeah, I'm sure the Bucks will probably show up. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure a few of those guys will.
Get
probably
off to a good start.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Let them. Hey, they might not. The Bucks might not be PWG regulars anymore. But I think for hey, you guys haven't run a show in a little while. Mystery Vortex thing. They could probably go out there and do some work. So yeah, I don't know. I'm interested. I'll definitely check it out when I can eventually watch it. But a few more minutes here left on the show. Let's talk about three things here real quick I wanted to touch on real fast. We'll kind of do rapid fire on this. ROH's Best in the World is going on this weekend. Joe, ROH's big pay-per-view return to fans. Big title match here. You got ROH World title, Roosh defending the title against Bandito. You got ROH World TV title, Tony Deppen defending the title against Dragon Lee. ROH World Tag Team titles, Fight Without Honor. The Foundation, that's Tracy Williams and Rhett Titus versus Violence Unlimited, Chris Dickinson and Homicide. ROH Pure title, Jonathan Gresham versus Mike Bennett. Miracle Mike the Bennett guy, our boy Mike Bennett. ROH World 6-man tag team title, Shane Taylor Promotions versus Dalton Castle, Dak Draper and Eli Isom. Brody King versus Jay Lethal. Last man standing match, Josh Woods, Silas Young. EC3 versus Flip Gordon, Jesus Christ, and the Briscoe brothers versus Brian Johnson and PJ Black. So those are the main show card matches. And then on their hour one, their kind of kickoff gimmick, you got Flamita versus Ray Horus and the Beer City Bruiser and Brian Malonis versus Danhausen and PCO, which I will not be watching at all. That sounds terrible. But anyway, what do you think of that main show and maybe what are the highlights that maybe you stand out? You got Roosh versus Bandito. Dragon Lee versus Tony Deppen, and then the mentioned Jonathan Gresham versus Mike Bennett are all pretty interesting matches.
I have no opinion on anything. I haven't watched ROH in ages. I have to on my little Fight TV and catch up on the last month or so of the TV before I watch this show. Just something I would not do if not for Voices of Wrestling. I would just watch the fucking pay-per-view cold. Do that, got to put the work in. So I will watch the last few weeks of the TV. I'll get caught up on everything, then watch the pay-per-view, and I will come next week fully armed with takes.
Yeah, it's been good. I will say I did a kind of a rapid catch-up of ROH TV, and it's been good stuff. Like, the problem is the empty arena is horrendous for ROH because they're still doing like the warehouse thing where there's no noise, and it is especially now, it's a tough watch. I watched that. I started watching Ring of Honor, so I finished Dynamite last night. And I said, you know what? I got to catch up on Ring of Honor. Bad idea. Did not. I basically turned it off after about 20 minutes and said, I should not do this. And then I watched it the rest of it, this morning and later today before the show started. So I've caught up. But yeah, watching it immediately after Dynamite was not a good idea when you got this red hot crowd screaming and going nuts. And then I go to, Jonathan Gresham and Freddie High wrestling in a warehouse. It was it was tough, but they're going to be in front of fans on this show, so that should help things a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I'm interested in the show. I'm ready to kind of get back into Ring of Honor, so I will definitely check out this pay-per-view. We'll definitely review it next week on the show. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff to like on the show, and there's some good stuff. I think Ring of Honor is doing some really really cool stuff right now, and they're a very professional run operation in a lot of ways. So it's a company I do want to support. It's just been very difficult with the warehouse wrestling to watch it, but very excited back in front of fans and yeah, that's ROH Best in the World. So we'll review that next week on the show for sure. New Japan Pro Wrestling, real quickly, recent shows that they've had. I have not watched all the Korakuen Halls, but what I have watched, and I do want to plug this as well, something on the website, voicesofwrestling.com. It is an article from Jay Michael about Yuya Uemura and Yota Tsuji's Kazuna Road Gauntlet. So these are the Young Lions series that we've been talking about over the last few weeks. Jay Michael, recapped every single one of those matches, gave star ratings, gave background, gave details. It's a long read, but it's a well worth it read. Breaking down those every match that those guys have had in their series, Yota Tsuji and Yuya Uemura. Really, really great stuff there. But I have caught up on most of it myself as well, and I got to say, I've really enjoyed the last few, and the last one, which I'm sure we want to talk about here. The last one, Yuya Uemura versus Shingo Takagi, is one of those matches, Joe, you talk about all the time, where star ratings are stupid and dumb because, like, that's a match that I don't even know what I could star rate it, but it was, like, exactly the type of match it needed to be, exactly the perfect structure, with an insanely great follow up, an insanely great post match. Like, it's everything that you want out of the match that it was, and that's why star ratings are kind of dorky sometimes, because you're not going to go 5 on this, but fuck, this was perfect. What do you think of Yu Uemura and Shingo? Just fucking perfect wrestling. Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah. It surpassed the Okada Tsuji one as my favorite one yet. A lot of people really liked Bushi versus Uemura too. It is great. I mean, especially the finish and after the finish, where all that body language stuff and Uemura not wanting Shingo to help him up, insisting on getting up himself and shoving him off. Shingo being like, yeah, all right.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, a little bit of attitude. Yeah, so if you're wondering what happens, Uemura gets like 4 or 5 host spots, and then Shingo just takes his head off with a fucking clothesline and pins him.
Beats him with the pumping bomber, and not
even worth my time to lift you up and do all this bullshit. I'm just gonna take your head off with the pumping bomber. He's done. Yua sells it. So he gets up, his mouth's all bloody or whatever, and Shingo's kind of like, hey, I'll help you up, man. And Yui says, no, I'm gonna use you to climb up. I'm gonna use your body to climb up, but I do not want your help to climb up. And he eventually does. And then Shingo kind of looks at him, and he shoves Shingo away into the ropes. And you would think in some wrestling companies, Shingo would then hit him with the title belt or kick his ass or whatever, but Shingo smiles and goes, ha, you're learning. And then holds the title up and says, yeah, you don't have this fucking title. I have this title. Now get out of here.
Well, he did the motion of come to me.
Right.
When he had, like, you want this title. Like he did that hand motion of like, it is very symbolic in that, and I think it's a moment where if Uemura becomes a star, obviously you're going to look back on that.
Oh, that's going to be a clip.
Interaction with Shingo.
Yeah, that's a clip that's coming back for sure.
Especially if Shingo is still around when this guy rises up and is a player, which is, possible, but who knows? They can build off of that. But yeah, just a great moment. Really cool stuff. That's what you want out of pro wrestling. That's pro wrestling. I think I put the clip on our Twitter feed last minute of all that, of that whole interaction, so Satoshi Kojima versus Hiroki Goto was a good singles match from the night before, because the Never Six Man, they had all 6 of those guys in singles matches against each other the night before. Kojima Goto was the highlight of that one, as you'd probably expect. Nagata Ishii was pretty good, but I preferred Kojima and Goto. And then in the title match the next night, Goto pinned Kojima. So and that was good. The Ishii, Yoshihashi, Goto Never team, they always go out there and work really fucking hard. And they've really had a lot of good matches during this title reign. They've been the best Never 6-man champions of all time. I mean, it's not even close. So, and I think both of those Korakuen shows are free on New Japan World.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Know for a fact the second one is, with the match that we're talking about with Shingo and the title match. That's free. So if you're not a subscriber, you can go watch that Shingo match for nothing.
So that's what's going on there. Anything else from New Japan that's been kind of a highlight or something you would mention? I've only seen the Young Lion matches. I've had really no interest in watching all the other stuff. I'm gonna get back into here in a little bit, but I've had to calm down on New Japan here for a little bit because big grump about it. So I thought I'd distance myself.
If you'll miss it, you'll appreciate it more when the big show.
Exactly.
comes.
Right. I figure, hey, I'm not gonna torture myself with the stuff that I don't like, and I'm just gonna wait for the big shows to come back. So.
I don't think those 3 singles matches are anything close to essential, although I would recommend the Kojima Goto match. I don't think the Never 6-man match is essential, even though it was probably low-level notebook match or maybe 4 stars somewhere in that range. And, the Young Lion matches are a lot of fun if you're into that kind of dynamic.
Yeah, and again, like I said, at Voices Wrestling, you look at Jay Michael did it. You could just look at our review section or our column section. Yu Uemura and Yota Tsuji's Kazuna Road Gauntlets is a fortnight's glimpse into the future, which if you need any background or any context for any of the matches, you get it right there. So you can kind of follow along as you're watching, which I did do as well when I went back and watched some of them as well. So a good way to watch that. But then finally, we'll wrap up here with a show that I am going to tomorrow. I will be at live at AEW tomorrow for United We Stand. You got a main event here, AEW heavyweight title match, steel cage, Mance Warner versus Fred Yehi. AEW women's title match, you got Chris Statlander versus Allison Kay. AEW tag team title match, you got Joesa and Dion Roosman versus Ace Austin and Madman Fulton. You got Myron Reed versus Hakeem Zayn for the AEW Heritage title. An I Quit match, I believe the first I Quit match in women's history for AEW here. Hyon versus Sky Blue. Manders versus Robin Steele. And the match that I am very much looking forward to, Josh Alexander versus Jake Something. So I'm excited about that. Mance versus Fred in a steel cage sounds awesome. Alexander versus Jake Something sounds great. Myron Reed versus Hakeem Zayn sounds up right up my alley as well. So that seems like a pretty cool card, and I'm pretty excited about it. So
Hyon Sky Blue match is well built.
Oh, absolutely. They've been doing a tremendous job with that. It's an I Quit match too. So yeah, I'm interested to see how they form it, because otherwise it's been well built, but it's starting to get real heated and start. So yeah, that could be kind of fun to see if they really open up there and let them kind of work it in a little bit more of an aggressive, hard hitting style, which I'm sure they will. I don't think you make it an I Quit match and just have them, do basic grappling and stuff. So we'll see what happens with there. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. Mance and Fred, as I said, that's been maybe one of the better built. I mean, Fred Yehi and the character work that he's been doing, he did it in Ring of Honor too. If you go when you're going to go back and watch the rewatch the Ring of Honor TV, Fred Yehi has some really cool profile pieces in that. Him and Gresham really built up their match on the final TV, or the TV that was from last week, I should say, TV from last week. But yeah, I'm really interested in that and seeing if Fred Yehi could do it. I feel like it's probably time for him to win the title. If he's going to do it, steel cage match would be a good opportunity. But, Manser's a guy that if you have him around and he's not getting signed by anybody, he's a great guy to have as your champion as well. And then Josh Alexander, Jake Something sounds like two dudes just beating the hell out of each other, and I'm there for it. So I like AEW. It's professional. The wrestlers, the announcers don't scream "fuck at me" the entire time. The wrestlers all try hard. The production's good. There's a whole lot to like. So glad it's one of my hometown promotions. So
we'll talk about it next week.
Absolutely. So that is AEW United Will Stand. We're going to review that. ROH Best in the World, we'll review that. Plenty of other stuff to get to next week on the Voice of Wrestling Flagship Podcast. But that is it for this week. As we said, patreon.com/Voices of Wrestling, $5, $10, or the $1 tier. $5 tier opens up the Thursday TV reviews. It opens up the Slammiversary synopsis and some of the other audio stuff we do. $10 tier gives you everything that we do, the live flagship that you can listen to right now. It gives you the opportunity to call in like people did today. It also gives you Joe's written content, instant reaction live immediately after big shows. It gives you everything we do for that $10 tier. So that's at patreon.com/Voices of Wrestling. Last, I'll say voicesofwrestling.com for all of our written content as well, previews, reviews, and all that other stuff. Voice of Wrestling Podcast Network. To listen to any other podcast that we do here. And then, of course, last but not least, voicewrestling.com/Discord. So you can join our Discord and discuss wrestling with people from all across the world, talking all parts of wrestling, anywhere you can find it. So that is it for us. So for Joe Lanza, I'm Rich Craich. We'll talk to you next time on the Voice of Wrestling Flagship Podcast.